Chapter 1091. Choice. Chapter 1091. Choice. Proofreader, Papatonks. What? Chower shuddered, looking between Juafan's frozen figure in ice and young Sanzi on the snow, barely breathing. But what's there to think about, little Thunder Phoenix? CAO's bewitched. You said it yourself, there are only 5 great sacred beasts that were a family. The Cheelin will die along with this young Cheelin, while this filthy human has been using you. It's obvious then. You only have to nod, and I will make mince meat out of his corpse. Then the Cheelin can be saved. Ha ha ha. Chower gave a stiff shake, her eyes turning red as she choked. No, he's my father. I don't want him to die. I take it you'll be saving the human over the Cheelin. CAO's snicker once again echoed, having a blast in her torment and weaving deceit. Then take the human, while I'll have young Cheelin for dinner. Hey, how could you? You're a sacred beast too. How can you harm brother? And you aren't? Why then do you choose a human over him? Chower was stuck, unable to reply as she looked between her father and brother with pain and sorrow whoosh. For figures then flashed in her eyes, led by the best in mortal domain. The invincible sword looking at the prevalent white and the boundless ice. Bailey Yuyun was baffled. That's strange. We've been running around the mist forever. Where do we end up this time? Why is there a world in the black mist? Patriarch, do you know anything about this place? It feels familiar. I seem to have heard about it once. Bailey Yutian frowned, looking just as puzzled at the ice and snow, but then he noticed someone he shot straight for Chower, with Sword Kings in tow lass. Why are you alone? Where's Sir Joie? Chower's lip quivered, pointing with bleary eyes and a frail voice. There. The 4 flinched as they saw Juafan encased in ice. What on earth? What happened to Sir Joie? And they then looked down and noticed the sea ice below them holding scores of bodies. Bailey Yin turned to Chower in panic. Girl, you wanted to come here, right? Then you must know where we are. D-Dad called it Ice Mountain. Chower strained to speak through her pain. It's what everyone is calling it. One of the 3 danger zones, Ice Mountain. SSS. Bailey Yoon gasped, his heart stuck in his throat as the news scared the life out of him. Anyone knew that no one came out of the 3 danger zones alive, and now they ran into one the 3 Sword Kings were now tearing up as well, lamenting their fate. That was why the brash and cocky lass turned so meek and distraught. Anyone would cry in this heaven-forsaken place. The invincible sword found his predicament amusing, though. Ha! I've been roaming around for thousands of years, and yet never stumbled upon any danger zone. Only now ran into it. Though what makes this place so bad to be called a danger zone? Lass, what's so dangerous about it? Bailey Ian got the hint and turned to ask Chower. In such a bad place, being in the dark as to what might attack them was the biggest danger. Chower sniffed, pointing at Juafan. In other words, that's the danger, so watch it. Bailey Ian bobbed his head and asked, how did Surge turn up like that? From the looks of it, the Ice Mountain made it very easy for one to end up sealed. The problem is how. Chower was the only one to see it happen to Juafan, and so the Sword Kings got over their rivalry and asked, Humph, it's obviously the work of that wretched heaven-sealing CAO. Heaven-sealing CAO? The hell is that? The North Sea Demon. Chower rolled her eyes with a huff. The 3 exclaimed. The Sea Demon sealed the crafty punk. Bailey Yutian's eyes shone, the thirst for battle reignited. He looked around and shouted, Sea Demon, I've long heard of you and have come for a challenge. Patriarch. The Sword Kings looked tense at Invincible Sword, sweat trickling down their brow. The Sea Demon was famed for its savagery, and challenging it before knowing its strength was ill-advised. Patriarch, you just finished fighting a 9th-level Imperial beast and are exhausted. You'll only be worse for wear if it turns out the Sea Demon is to be at the same level. Best you rest a couple of days, then challenge again for best chances. The strong had a powerful drive to challenge the stronger. The Invincible Sword was called such because he had been through countless deadly fights, but always prevailing. Where was the challenge in fighting a winning battle? The old guy had a nasty temper too, eager to throw himself into the fray against the Sea Demon, regardless of its power. Sea Demon, I'm the strongest in the 5 lands, the Invincible Sword. Show yourself now. Or are you afraid? Ha ha ha. Then you should be running back to the sea, not coming to shore. Hi hi hi. Yokels are the most ignorant. CAO's creepy voice crackled. I'd have turned all you humans to pieces if it weren't for that heaven-sealing barrier. Now, someone comes to run their mouths? You have a death wish. Bailey Yuqian's eyes shone, resolved to fight no matter what. Anyone can talk, but hardly anyone can put their money where their mouth is and fight me. Stop hiding like a coward and yap along. That's the way of the weak. You call yourself strong? Hi hi hi. Heaven-sealing CAO laughed louder. Foolish human, if you're strong, the crickets and bugs ought to kill themselves in shame. Aha. Bailey Yuqian turned cold, brandishing the sundering sword as he shouted, Sea demon, enough talking. Show your face if you dare, so I can kill you. The sundering sword. The sea demon cried. So that's why. You're the sundering sword successor. Bailey Yuqian spoke coldly. I've been using the sundering sword's art for thousands of years, reaching perfection. Scared? Ah, scared. That swordsmanship can't harm me. The scared one should be Little Thunder Phoenix. The 5 sacred weapons might look intimidating, but they hold no sway in my domain. Human, you shouldn't have brought it along. Hi hi hi. Bailey Yuqian was perplexed. Hey, so you don't know. The sword is divine, but your strength is unable to unleash its potential. For the divine, swords to restrain us, they need sacred stones. Now, you no longer have that chance. What's that supposed to mean? Bailey Yuqian shouted rumble. The world shook and the distant mountains of ice and snow crumbled. It was like an omen that a demon was clawing its way out of hell. You'll be staying here along with the sword. Hi hi hi. The rumbling grew more intense, like the world was about to crumble. Even Bailey Yuqian began to sweat, his heart seizing outside the domain. Ouyang Lingtian, Murong Lai, and Shangwan Feixiong used their divine swords as lanterns to ward off the black mist that prevented them from advancing. Each shining in its own light, the 3 had red faces and gnashed their teeth. Their bodies stretched taut as they strained themselves with a sudden boom. The entire mist exploded. The shockwave flung back the trio and shook their insides till they coughed blood. The divine swords fell from their hands, and into the mist, our swords. They cried to no avail. The swords were gone, and they were too weak to chase. They were helpless to even stop the shockwave from sending them into buildings until they fainted. Chapter 1092. Well sure. Chapter 1092. Well sure. Proofreader, Papatonks. Boom. Everything shook around Bailey Yuqian, making him grip the divine sword harder, while looking on edge as he scanned all around him for anything suspicious. It had been thousands of years since the last time he felt like a prey, like he entered a hunter's domain. This was exactly what he felt from a sea demon, making him both nervous and excited, but most of all, thrilled. This is too damn nerve-wracking. While he relished in the challenge, the Sword Kings weren't so quick to agree. Just how absurd this sea demon is to make such a scene. Too much, and that'll mean we're just throwing our lives away. Wiping their sweaty brows, the Sword Kings felt for the first time like they were in the eyes of a hunter, making their blood run cold. This is too damn dangerous. Chower had a deep frown, still overwhelmed by CAO's choice to the point she blocked off what happened around her boom. The intense rumbling only got Bailey Yuqian to be more tense, with one more explosion that wrecked the skies. Followed by a deluge of snow and ice on top of them, Bailey Yuqian's heart jumped and rushed to dodge one particular hunk of ice while using the sundering sword to fend off the snowstorm. The Sword Kings and the invincible sword alike stood in absent shock to find the devastating sundering sword unable to break the hail of ice, only making it rebound off the blade. At best, the ice got split only when meeting the sundering sword's edge. This can't be happening. Bailey Yuqian gasped. While the Sword Kings looked on in disbelief, the ice contained the sea demon's sealing power. Yet among them 4, only the divine sword had the strength to crack it open. They had trouble handling so little of the sea demon's power. But what about when he came at them at full strength? The invincible sword felt they not only stirred the hornet nest, but all nests the danger zones were known for a very good reason. This fight may very well be my last, haha. Bailey Yuqian shook his head, his eyes shining with the will to die. They were blinded by what was before them, despairing just by seeing the sea demon's casual show of force rumble. Another rumble pierced their ears just then. The frozen sea cracked all over and crumbled, crushing the countless bodies trapped in its surface. Something the size of an island burst from the ice, looking like a shell that let out a chilling aura. An old weathered face came out next, with two eyes the size of mountains, one shining yellow and the other looked dull, with a clear wound in it. That scar was Sword Sovereign's handiwork. The absurdly huge creature towered hundreds of meters over them, howling at the skies. Heaven-sealing CAO's frightening power made even Bailey Utian shiver, making him feel tiny and worthless. This is the Sea Demon, the Lord of the North Sea. Patriarch, maybe should we ask for leniency? Bailey Utian's face twitched, looking pained. He looked at the creature, outsizing him 1,000 times over, and said, "This thing is different from that 9th-level Imperial beast. We have no chance." Bailey Utian's face sank. "You think? Do I look so blind to need your input?" Tilting his head way up until it became uncomfortable to fully appreciate this huge CAO in all its glory. He gulped as a chill crawled up his spine. The invincible sword, the best in the lands, had never thought possible the day would come that just a mere aura would send fear in his bones. Bailey Utian glanced at Zhuofan's block of ice, now believing the kid's words. "Sir Zhuo, you're right. The lands are just a speck compared to the great world. I'm not that strong after all. I am weak." The invincible sword regarded the CAO again and focused. He lifted the sundering sword and charged for the demon's head. "Patriarch." The sword kings cried out behind. Invincible sword had made his mind, focused completely on fighting as he roared. "I admit that I am very weak, but my will of being strong hasn't changed. Sea Demon, show me a peak expert's power." "Who?" The invincible sword psyched himself up, yet CAO's reaction was to flare its nostrils, sending a chilling air at him. The invincible sword seized on the spot, unable to move. With a thump, a clear block of ice slammed the ground, containing the invincible sword with the Sundering Sword in his most heroic pose. Not even Sundering Sword could fight off the cold, slowly halting its ringing dong. The sound rang through the Sword King's minds, numbing them. They looked at the CAO with dull gazes and pale faces. Their patriarch, the invincible sword, was done in from a mere exhale. What the hell kind of monster is this? Faces twitching, the trio crumbled on the ice in shock. Despair had their hearts in a tight grip, even hoping the CAO saw them as nothing but extras and let them go out of the kindness of his heart. CAO, however, hated humans with a passion, and that wouldn't change anytime soon. Hi. That's what humans are. Showing a condescending smile, CAO shook its large head and cackled, picking on weak and fearing the strong, a race without honor. Where had their earlier fire gone to? Look at them, nothing but whiny dogs looking for clemency. Disgusting. CAO's voice released a wave of cold. The Sword Kings turned to flee, but the cold swept them in an instant, leaving behind 3 more sculptures. 5 more vivid eye sculptures had now joined the endless others and, unfortunately, might have the same sordid end as well. In pieces, Chower's heart was wrecked with anxiety. CAO chuckled. "Little Thunder Phoenix, now, do you see humanity's ignorance? Now choose. Will it be your human father or your Chilean brother?" CAO dove back into the sea, enjoying himself as he pointed out the Zhuofan sculpture. An unconscious Gu Santong Xiao looked left and right, unable to make a decision. Father would have definitely saved brother, because that's why we came here in the first place. But my brother wouldn't want father to be in danger. How is this a choice? You're overthinking it. CAO snickered. Humans forget kindness and are adept in betrayal. This man admitted to using you too. What's so hard about casting him out? You're only tools to him. Why would he care for some tools? Sacrificing yourself for him is not worth it. Chower sank in a long silence, but then she nodded. "I've made up my mind. I want to save brother." Good choice. Humans can't be trusted and should be abandoned." "No." CAO laughed, but Shower cut him off with conviction. Not abandoned, but chosen. I know father would choose brother, so I won't disappoint him. The cackle stopped, with the CAO giving her the cold eye. You're saying you're choosing the human? Shower flicked her hand. I've made my choice, so save brother. This is what my father and I both agree on. Father's spirit would be gratified, just how father saw mother losing her mind over him. He would be torn with guilt knowing he lived while brother died, a fate worse than death. Bull. Those vile and dishonorable humans can't feel guilt. CAO roared, with Shower pointing at his nose and shouting back. I made my choice. Are you going to do it or not? Are you a Welsha? So humans are bad like you say, but aren't you the disgrace of sacred beasts for not keeping your promise? CAO squinted and cracked a smile, revealing a deep chill. Using humans as reverse psychology. Good one, little Thunder Phoenix. Having come to this, if I don't agree, what will change? CAO mocked and opened its maw to bite on the ice, just that where he bit. Young Sansi lay. CAO ate young Sansi in one gulp. Shower was too stunned to react. Chapter 1093, A Father's Rage. Chapter 1093, A Father's Rage. Proofreader, Papatonks. Shower's eyes went wide as saucers and turned red from the tears. She pointed a trembling hand at the devious and smug CAO, her lip quivering. Why you lied? You ate my brother. Give it back now. Hi, girl. No one can tell me what to do, ha. With a prideful laughter, heaven-sealing CAO gave the little girl a patronizing look, relishing her desolate and crushed expression. Shower's face twitched, the pain in her heart growing. Father and daughter braved many dangers to come save young Sansi. But they just arrived here, and her father sacrificed himself, sealed in ice, while CAO toyed with her emotions, giving her an impossible choice. When she did come to a decision at long last, she found out it was nothing more than a ruse, the bastard not planning to keep his word. She and her father were his entertainment. Shower's eyes were bloodshot, roaring, CAO, you rotten bastard. You used me. You broke your promise. You're not worthy of being a sacred beast. Hi. I sure had to mess around with you. What of it? Don't you humans use these petty tricks all the time? I'm only responding in kind. What's wrong with that? But my brother and I aren't humans. You've been corrupt from being around one, which makes you human all the same. Shower raged, but CAO went cold and flashed its fangs with killing intent. I've said before that no sacred beast reeking of human stink will be a sacred beast again. You, the Qilin, and that human father you all attach to are nothing but humans. As long as I'm around, no human will ever leave my presence alive, you included. Who? CAO breathed out a wave of frigid mist, turning into a tornado as it shot for Shower. Chow was unable to move from shock. She had no chance, as she was against the heaven-sealing CAO, since she hadn't matured. The three of them would find their end on this very day. Ice spread over her body, creaking as it formed. Shower stared into space, her eyes filled with tears of despair. Forgive me, Father, I failed. I couldn't save my brother. You and I are helpless as well, with me about to join you. Father, brother, see you again below. Shower closed her eyes, having given up all hope, and sank in despair. All that remained of her defiance were those hot tears, evidence of the indignity she suffered. CAO mocked as she turned to ice. Hi. I told you, little Thunder Phoenix, I never planned on helping either one of you. All I did was use you for the best entertainment. Sorry, but it seems I've given you false hope, ha. I just love to see my prey squirm. The thrill of seeing that hope broken, the horror, is to die for. Hi. Shower cried out in powerless defiance. Feeling victimized, she hated CAO and his guile. He never planned on letting them live. Yet he imposed on her an impossible choice. He made her see her father and brother as they would die. And when she did finally decide, she came to realize that it didn't matter. She felt utterly powerless. It was better if all three of them had been sent to the hereafter from the start. At least they would go together. Now, She had went through all that torture for nothing. Chower cried out her pain, only feeding Cao's twisted hobby. The cold winds soon took her, about to encase her in ice bam. A black sword with black flames then shot from the ice and shielded her. The frigid winds struck the sword instead of Chower, letting out loud hissing of steam instead of freezing over. The tornado was now turned into steam that spread everywhere, enveloping Chower as well. Cao's mad laughter came to an abrupt stop, its eyes shaking as he gave an odd look at the sudden steam. The mist soon cleared and Chower was safe and sound, with a black longsword covered in black flames hovering in front. It gave off an aura that struck fear even in the heaven's ceiling. Cao, where did the sword come from? Who did that? Heaven ceiling. Cao flinched, turning grave. Chower looked at the familiar blade, and hope rekindled in her eyes, muttering, Father, SSS. The hissing drew their attention to a block of ice, now sporting webbing cracks with black flames seeping out of them, only to explode at the very end. Someone walked through the ice pieces and stood next to Chower. He reached out to take the sword and grin. Chower, forgive me for putting you through that. Leave the rest to me. Father, Chower cheered. You're all right. Not possible. I sealed you. I did. How did you break out? Heaven ceiling. Cao gaped in shock, its claws slamming the icy sea, sending violent winds in all directions. Fan had been sealed, yet now was standing like nothing happened. He grinned, but his eyes were cold as ice. Senior Cao, I've been nothing but courteous ever since I came to Ice Mountain. You wanted to kill humans and iced me. You wanted Chower to choose, and she did. But even after a little girl did all you ask, you just go back on your deal just to toy with her innocent heart? That's where I draw the line. How are you any different with your slyness? If you'd have been sealed, you'd never know what happened after. Cao glared at Fan and roared. Fan smiled. I have the Thunder Flame's protection. It's impossible to seal me. But that's besides the point. What matters is that you've been nothing but a disappointment, Senior. You have made Chower cry. And nothing, just... Fan's eyes flashed with bloodthirst. He flicked the sword, pointing it at the huge head. You stirred a father's rage. You toyed with my daughter and took my son. I'll have you pay for that. Heaven ceiling. Cao eyed him, then cracked up in disdain. Ha. You make me pay? Getting out of my seal changes nothing. I hardly need to lift a finger to squash bugs like you. You can't do anything to me. I'm not trying to, only letting you know that toying with your adversary must come while aware of the situation. Some people should never be fooled. Senior Cao. Fan's eyes shone as he shouted, charging for the heaven ceiling. Cao. Like the invincible sword did before. This time, though, it was Fan who challenged the greatest sacred beast. Chower cried, Father, be careful. Fan's eyes were grave. Humph, screw careful. You're nothing but an arrogant bug. You can only be careful against a worthy match. You, human punk, have nothing on me. Who? Cao breathed out another wave of cold towards Fan, the winds swirling into twisters. It was more than enough to freeze him into an icicle. Once more Chower watched with her heart in her throat, worried sick for Fan. Boom. Fan had no intent to even dodge, slamming into the twister with a bang and letting the cold seep in his bones. That's that. Cao smirked in disdain, then felt the need to gloat over Chower as well. He didn't get the chance, as a figure dashed through the twisters enveloped in writhing black flames. Chapter 1094. You lose. Chapter 1094. You lose. Proofreader, Papatonks. How? Heaven ceiling. Cao was overwhelmed at the sudden development. His ceiling never failed him ever, and always struck true. This was the might of the apocalyptic thunder flame, a power beyond the 5 great sacred beasts. His seals had no effect at all, not to say that Cao was powerless against Fan, who had a far weaker cultivation. Fan had quality, while Cao had quantity, lots of it. Cao needed to just ramp up the power output and not get taken in by Fan's words. Then he would seal him, no problem. Fan knew this as well, his eyes shining as he sped up to fly faster, for CAO's had the only chance at winning against a peak power like the CAO was to capitalize on his disdain and slight. He had to strike in the smallest window to give a deadly blow to the enemy and offer some hope at victory. As for any other situations, he was doomed, dead. Finished. Juefan squinted, touching his thunder ring, going even faster and crossing half the CAO's bulk. The bee smirked half a second later. Amusing. That's an interesting black flame you got there. It can even overcome my seal. I wonder, just how much of it does your puny human body contain? Will it burn all of my seal's power? Who? Heaven sealing. CAO breathed out at Juefan once more. A sea of cold air came like a flood, as if the heavens fell on top of Juefan's head. The attack was tens of miles thick and 100 wide. That was no flood, but a literal mountain of ice and cold. The thunder flame within Juefan was bound to be snuffed out under such deluge. And when it failed, so did he. Sealed in this ice like other countless humans before him, he only escaped last time due to CAO's obnoxious disdain. Now, the CAO would not make the same mistake again. Juefan's eyes shook, gnashing his teeth as the immense attack was about to hit him. His left eye's thunder flame roiled, while the right eye shone in two golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void, second stage. Thunder flame, void, annihilation. Whoosh! A black beam of fire pierced the incoming cold mountain, punching a hole through it big enough for his size. Juefan followed, right behind the flames. Even so, the cold came closing in around him, eating away at his black flames on his body, and turning into mist. It turned out the flood of cold was just too thick in the end. The thunder flame gave signs of dying now and then, but Juefan used his eye to get it burning again. He did it despite the strain it put on him, making his eye bleed. For the second the thunder flame halted was the moment it was all over for him. There was no room for error on the edge of the knife. Xiao was anxious, unable to provide any bit of help to her father. CAO rose an eyebrow, looking piqued. Why is his skill so familiar? Well, have I seen it? Bam! The beam of black flames punched through the thick deluge of cold. Juefan flew right out, covered in sweat and huffing. His left eye was bleeding hard, erased as it met the black flames. Juefan still charged ahead recklessly. Without regard for his safety, he was at chest level of CAO, and next would be his target, the head. That would be when he had the advantage to grasp victory. Juefan stepped forward while ignoring his exhaustion. Xiao eased a heavy breath, now knowing her father had come through. Right? Heavenly Sovereign. It's Heavenly Sovereign's divine Eye of the Void. A howl of fury wrecked the world as CAO's bloodlust spiked. Why, you're with the Heavenly Sovereign. I'm going to crush you to a pulp. CAO slammed with its huge claw, making it look comical compared to the bug-sized Juefan. With rage burning in his bloodshot eyes, it roared. Heavenly Sovereign trapped me in here all my life. I'll never forget this debt for as long as I live. For being Heavenly Sovereign's inheritor, you shall die all the same. I'll ground your bones to dust and throw it all away. Who? The huge claw whistled through the air, its pressure stealing Juefan's breath away. He then felt his sternum snap and had to spurt blood from the damage. Shocked, Juefan turned grave. Just his pressure made me suffer already. That means the moment the attack lands, there'll be nothing left of me. Sweating buckets, Juefan was at an impasse. Xiao paced in worry, powerless to help. She could only watch and pray for him. Juefan was now near the neck. Just 1,000 meters to go. Juefan's right eye shone with one golden halo whoosh. CAO's claw slammed down, hitting nothing. Juefan had jumped on top of CAO's head with an evil grin. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage shift. CAO cried out. It had let anger get to him, and Juefan's action slipped unnoticed. But then his intact eye squinted and yellow shone from it. Humph, rotten punk, don't think for a second that popping around the place will stop me. Your skill is crude at best compared to Heavenly Sovereign's. Void Seal. Ripples flew in all directions, giving Juefan the impression there were walls all around him. Now, there was no way of escaping through shift, not that he cared. having reached his target. He smirked in glee, his hand touching the thunder ring. Cao was clueless to his intent, merely laughing at the fact the rat was trapped, laughter laced with sorrow. Ha ha, let's see you run now. There's nothing you can do. You can't harm a hair on me. Conceited little shit. Just because you got a taste of Heavenly Sovereign's inheritance, you think you can blow your horn in my face? The only reason you survived so far is because I never saw you worthy of my attention. Now that you're with Heavenly Sovereign, you'll feel all my wrath. Heavenly Sovereign, you son of a she-dog, I can't take it out on you, so I'll crush your successor to soothe my hatred. Cao cursed and shouted, snapping his head around and opening his maw to bite at the space-locked Zhuofan. Rotten punk, I'll make mincemeat out of you, and there's nothing your master, Heavenly Sovereign, can do about it, huh? Cao, hold on. My father has nothing to do with Heavenly Sovereign. You're wrong about him. Chower cried out, but Cao was past listening, his eyes red with sweet retribution. He wanted the kid eaten to quell the hatred festering within. So what if he got it all wrong? The target was human, wasn't he? All humans deserve death in his book, Father. Chower's worry for Zhuofan only mounted, seeing he wasn't listening. Zhuofan ignored everything, only focused on the ring shining on his hand. As the abyss that was Cao's maw closed in, his grin only grew eviler. Heaven sealing. Cao, your loss today is all because of your conceit. What? Cao reacted out of reflex. Still going in for a bite, Zhuofan had a strange spark in his eyes, his snicker growing to his ears. I'm saying thank you for giving me this chance. You lose. Whoosh. Zhuofan flicked his hand, and a miniature sun appeared, scorching and terrifying. Chapter 1095, World of the Strong. Chapter 1095, World of the Strong. Proofreader, Papatonks. T.S. The huge eye squinted, and heaven-sealing Cao gasped as he shouted, Old Dragon's full-power dragon breath pill? Why would he give it to you? Heavenly Sovereign successor? Ha ha ha. He'd never trust me if I really was Heavenly Sovereign successor. But there's a difference between being a successor and learning his ultimate skill. I agreed to help him, and he shields me. Like you said, they're all after something and not noble like you. As for now, Zhuofan's eyes shone cruelly, ready to throw the dragon breath pill. Cao was shaken up, scrambling to flee. He rushed to close his mouth and stammered, Now hold on, let's talk about this. Don't. Talking only works among equals. But you, sir, are too strong. Zhuofan didn't fall for his stalling, so he could escape, so Zhuofan threw the fireball without qualms, shouting coldly, Here's my gift, Senior Cao, for looking after my children. Also, Senior Dragon Ancestor sent his regards. May you eat well and stay healthy, ha ha ha. The dragon breath pill crushed any barrier in place as it swirled straight into Cao's gaping abyss boom. Everything was dyed orange as the flames unleashed a sea of flames. Dragon Ancestor's full-power dragon breath pill went off in Cao's mouth, and the raging torrents of heat and fire shot in every direction. The terrible flames melted all ice in an instant, turning the sea into steam before it, as well was erased in the scorching heat. Cao's fangs broke off then and there, ruined. The fire made its way deeper and into his body, every nook and cranny, engulfing his organs in boiling lava. Only when all his being was saturated with fire did it leak out, sending plumes of blood high in the sky, and a mist of red. His body was now in dire straits as tons of blood spewed out his mouth. His proud visage now paled greatly, his scales black, singed or burned with one strike. Zhuofan was close to taking his life, as Cao was on the same level as Dragon Ancestor. Taking such a blow had serious consequences. Only this time, it was even worse. The only way Dragon Ancestor could reduce Cao to such a state was by risking his own life in battle. It all came down to how cautious they were of each other. When fighting, they always kept their senses sharp, while Zhuofan was fairly easy to look down on, being a puny human and all working in his favor. He used his own weakness to his advantage, making the other show the perfect target to strike by opening his pile. This was something no being in the world, and in their right mind, would make such a monumental mistake. The innards would always be weaker than a thick skin. If left with no choice, taking Dragon Ancestor's full-blown attack on his body was much better. At least it would leave a bruise or a cut. As for taking it out with his mushy insides, that was positively life-threatening then again. Who could blame Cao if in his shoes? Joie Fan was just too weak to even tickle his stomach if he detonated inside. Who'd ever saw it coming that he'd deliver Dragon Ancestor's attack instead of himself into the maw of the beast? It was no different than Dragon Ancestor breathing fire down his gullet in a duel of peers. Why would one expose their weakness? To die. Joie Fan hit him more than good this time, practically destroying him, since that was the plan all along. Using Dragon Breath Pill from the start would hardly make Cao even twitch, only making him angry. Instead, the best course was to be a patient hunter for the right moment to strike. As he did, his plan involved using 2 Dragon Breath Pill, one on the face to pry the jaws open, and the second down the hatch. It was like a boon from heaven itself how the guy simply offered himself from the start. That was why Joie Fan even drove the nail in by saying he lost, since he exposed his weakness, and now Cao was paying the full price for it. Heaven sealing, Cao roared in pain, tearing up even. He swore on his life that such disgraceful defeat had never happened to him in his long, long life. He never suffered so much ever. Yet the day finally came that a bug from the mortal domain did him good. He, the overlord of the sea, a sacred beast. He was enraged. He lost all his honor and howled with bloodlust. You little shitty bastard. You're not getting out of here alive. Ha ha ha. Senior Cao, do you think you're in any position to make threats? Joie Fan mocked as he watched the black scales fall off the main body and smelled the burn coming out from that blood, spurting from him with another spray of blood in tons. The sea took darker shade of red. Heaven sealing, Cao glared at Joie Fan. Don't get cocky, bastard. I haven't keeled over just yet. Wounded as I am, it's still more than enough to deal with the likes of you. Die. Heaven sealing, Cao reached with his claw to slap Joie Fan out of existence. Bam. All Cao did in the end was break an iceberg into ice cubes. Joie Fan flashed on the singed and wounded claw, sporting a smug and evil grin. Ha ha, Senior Cao, I see you don't feel like talking. The feeling is quite mutual, I assure you. I have no intent of settling this peacefully. Our debt is far from over. Joie Fan's eyes shone and waved his longsword. The black flames on it roiled as he then shoved the pointy end into the claw paw. The deadly black flames and the sharp edge of the sacred weapon went through the tough scale without a hitch, letting out booms after booms. This is for young Sanzi. Even more wounded, Cao wailed. He slammed with the other claw, but Joie Fan was long gone, now appearing on a shoulder. He slashed this time, and the black thunder flame licked the scales and blew many away. That earned another howl from the sacred beast. This is for Chow. Pitiless, Joie Fan lashed out all over the huge body and leaving gaping bloody wounds in his wake. Joie Fan was not about to let this bastard toy with his own daughter and had her suffer in vain. Senior Cao, you're hanging by a thread at this point and can hardly muster the strength to seal me at this point. Your huge body now became a burden. Now I ask you what you asked me. What can you do to me? Ha ha. Joie Fan cackled, buzzing around the huge Cao like an annoying flea, slashing and poking at every chance. Cao was powerless to swat him. Reduced to roaring and crying in pain, he was a proud sacred beast, among the best in the sacred domain. Even the sovereigns were weary of him. His stride must have come to an end since now, even he ended up toyed by a nobody. It was a disgrace. No matter how humiliating it felt, he could do nothing, for he was on the verge of dying. And that was due to Joie Fan's grace too, or he could have just thrown another Dragon Breath Pill and be done with Heaven sealing Cao. He would be the first in a mortal domain to kill a sacred beast. His name would go down in history. Ha ha ha. Joie Fan laughed like mad, while Cao cried out in pain. Thanks to the early searing heat wave and the endless rumbling, the four-sealed experts were thawed. The invincible sword gripped the sundering sword and suddenly coughed blood with ice and fire. The Sword Kings had it worse, spurting a couple more times. They turned worried towards him. "Patriarch, are you all right?" "I'm fine, just a serious wound." The invincible sword took a deep breath and spewed blood with flame and ice again. "What happened anyway?" The trio shrugged in confusion. Right as the symphony of wails and laughter reached their unfiltered ears, curiosity got the best of them, and now they were witnessing a most bizarre play that left them dumbstruck. Before them was a battle of the strongest. Chapter 1096, I Lost. Chapter 1096, I Lost. Proofreader, Papatonks. Heaven Sealing CAO shouted in rage and pain, twisting and jerking from every attack. He flayed his tower-sized claws around in a futile attempt at ending his torment and squashing the bite-sized interloper. But the meal just wouldn't stay put, having also learned to bite back and hard at every chance it got. The end result was mounting wounds, tons of blood loss, and excruciating pain for the overlord of the sea. Fan cackled all the while, his eyes savage and sadistic each time his blade sunk into CAO's flesh. The invincible sword and the Sword Kings blinked constantly, trying to get some sense of this absurd development. Bailey Yuyun's face twitched as he strained to ask, "What's he doing? Is it me, or is he torturing the monster?" "It's all real. I never once took the kid to pull something like this." The invincible sword was just as dumbstruck, looking dazed. "What happened to me?" "Patriarch, the monster blew its nose and encased you in ice. And then, what happened after?" "We got frozen too, and don't know." Bailey Yufeng looked on stiffly as he gave automatic and flat replies. He forgot all about decorum, while Bailey Yutian lost his customary pride, reduced to giving an unconscious nod and forgetting about chiding the junior's lack of respect. That's what this so-called fight did to all of them. CAO's humongous body that was riddled with wounds entered his vision. He felt he was still in a dream. I couldn't even touch this monster, and now someone is toying with him? Or did the kid do it? Bailey Yutian's brow shook and sighed along with his Sword Kings. Regardless of how, the strength must be absurd. The kid was being honest when he said he could wipe out the 5 Sword Kings back then. In the case of him having the same powerful tool, he wouldn't admit it either. This was a true trump card. If it could cripple the likes of CAO, then who in this world could withstand it? I was a dreaded existence, yet humiliated to such a degree. Thank heavens we have yet to reach a point of no return with him. The Sword Kings sweated buckets, and the invincible sword squinted as his jaw set in defiance. Boom. The powerful shockwave spread everywhere and picked the 4 off their feet. Flinging them all over the place, they slammed into the ice hard 1,000 meters away, heavily bleeding and looking much worse, for we're looking back at the main event. They found the source. CAO wanted to squash Fan, and this had resulted in them suffering, for Fan made a quick escape out of the attack's reach, popping on the beast's head and using the flaming sword. "Ha ha ha, Senior CAO, with this strike, I give you my blessings." Bam! The black thunder flame flashed across the head and made blood spurt out of it. Heaven Sealing CAO howled once more in anger and pain, but mostly futility. A sacred beast like him couldn't do anything against some lousy brat. He waved his claws again, trying everything to slap Fan out of the air, but all he got was laughter for his efforts as the bug used these chances to dodge and slash twice. More CAO unleashed twisters with every wave, shaking the world around him. But what gave the greatest horror was the constant cackle of Fan from within the winds. Like a devil from hell, he clawed his way out to toy with his prey, while flaying it alive. The Sword Kings gulped hard, their hearts running wild as they made sure to dodge an errant ice block blown their way, while keeping their eyes on Fan. What was most prevalent was the terror in their eyes. Why didn't anyone tell us this kid is a freak of nature? The monster is like a child compared to his sadistic streaks. Is he the devil? Patriarch, we'd better run before we get caught up in that kid and sea demons battle. Looking behind, he saw the thick black fog filled with holes from the searing heat wave. Bailey Yun perked up and urged Bailey Yuqian. Bailey Yuqian cursed. Humph, are you in that much of a rush to flee for your life, you weakling? In all my long years roaming the world, I've not once feared another's fight. You're right, Patriarch. No man in the 5 lands can stop Patriarch, but these two are anything but humans. Better to be safe than sorry, sir. Bailey Yun was hopeful as he shook all over while pleading. He knew Patriarch was not one to listen, but this was not the time to throw a hissy fit. They were all sporting deep wounds, and they might very well meet their end from CAO's stray attack. Patriarch, let's just go, please. Bailey Yun was sweating all over. Bailey Yuqian turned from him to the battle between man and beast and sighed. We're leaving. Great Patriarch. The trio cheered. Ding. Bailey Yuqian paused, looking at his hand to find the purple, sundering sword shaking while pointing at the CAO. With hunger, invincible swords had a pained gaze. Sundering sword. You want to fight, don't you? Ding. Sundering sword gave a jerk in response. I'm afraid we can't. That fight isn't one we can meddle in. That is the world of the strong, a world I have yet to even enter. Bailey Yuqian sighed, sapped of strength while tightening his grip on the sword. The moment I held you in my hand, I vowed to the heavens to take you to the summit. You made the right choice accepting me. Over the following millennia, I never stepped back against any that faced me. I'm sorry, but now I understand that I've yet to take you to the peak. I am truly weak, but rest assured my promise hasn't changed. The day will come when I will take you into such a peak fight. For now, we must withdraw as we don't qualify to join it. Ding! The sword was restless still, though it soon quietened. It had now forgotten its mission of killing the sacred beasts. Even with one before it, wounded as it was, the sundering sword still gave up. It had long since become one with this human expert. The invincible sword's wish was the sword's. It wanted to challenge a sacred beast while being held and not go take one down by itself. The invincible sword smiled. Thank you. He flew out of the mist, with the sword kings behind him. But not before he gave Zhuo Fan one last look, shouting, Zhuo Fan, don't you die on me. I will one day rise to the top, and for that I need that ticket in Devil Mountain. Bailey Yuqian then vanished in the fog. Zhuo Fan shook and smirked. He shifted out of another claw and popped next to Qiao. Stop, I lost. CAO, in the middle of his craze, jerked to a stop. He turned a confused eye on Zhuo Fan. What's with him? Why give up? I might be strong and look tough, but he has dominated the fight all this time. Why then? Chapter 1097, Gentle. Chapter 1097, Gentle. Proofreader, Papatonks. The humongous creature plunged into the sea, sending a tsunami in every direction. Heaven-sealing CAO gave Zhuo Fan a dark look of confusion. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing besides losing. I now await my sentence. Ding. He let vaulting sword slip and stick into the ground while he sat down. Shower cried, Father. CAO was perplexed. What's the damn kid's angle this time? Zhuo Fan had a genial smile on his face. Gone was the mad and sadistic expression, now looking like a real gentleman that wouldn't hurt a fly. Preaching love and peace, a disturbing silence ensued. Heaven-sealing CAO was still tense and on guard at the sudden change. His fury now cooled down to a confusing calmness. All that he could think of were questions upon questions. He even forgot what he was supposed to do. His brain stopped working the minute Zhuo Fan gave up out of the blue. Why? You don't want to punish me? I take it we can talk then? Zhuo Fan watched CAO just staring there with a dumb look and smiled. Senior CAO, please spit out my son. CAO flinched and then exclaimed in anger. Are you making fun of me now, brat? No games and no insults. I only have a simple request for Senior to calm down and negotiate better. Zhuo Fan smiled like a sage of boundless wisdom. His back was straight, his gaze deep. As I've said, talks or negotiations are conducted between equals. Please forgive my earlier transgression. With Senior's rage, it made it hard for my words to reach you. That is why I resorted to such tactics. I hope Senior can settle down now. Settle? Eyelid twitching, CAO snapped. You wish. Merely looking at your face, get my blood boiling. There's no settling. And why would I ever talk to you? I want nothing more than to grind your bones and flay you alive. Wrong. Joafan's gaze met his, unfazed at the outburst. Not us, but me. You want to flay only me, right? CAO shuddered, giving a long and heavy sigh. Joafan glanced at Shower behind him, then at CAO. In our fight, Senior CAO could do nothing to me. Senior CAO could at any time swallow Shower and threaten me to stay put. Why didn't you? Humph, sacred beasts have their pride. Unlike humans who stoop to any low, even taking hostages. CAO spat. Joafan shook his head. Senior, you're contradicting yourself. When you toyed with Shower, Senior had used all manner of dirty tricks humans employ. From the way I see it, besides Koenpung, Senior is the closest towards human nature among the 5 great sacred beasts. With danger hanging overhead, mentioning a sacred beast's pride sounds like a tasteless joke, Senior. CAO's words got stuck in his throat, put on the spot, but then he grew stubborn. That was merely out of anger that I forgot about the girl. I don't need you to remind me. Joafan shook his head, the smile never leaving his face. You should have said it at the start, and I might have believed you. However, aren't you contradicting yourself with what you said before? Ha ha ha. Senior, you never considered Shower a hostage or intended on killing her, did you? CAO winced. The 5 great sacred beasts are unique in this world. Joafan took a deep breath as he gazed above. As soul beings, no matter how much bad blood is between you, would you still be so quick to cut each other down? The very top is a place of endless solitude, even more when everyone around you dies out. CAO was grave. Joafan continued. Senior does indeed hate humans to the bone, willing to even take it out on the sacred beast that humanity corrupted. That bloodlust directed at Shower did not lie. That's why I believe Senior truly wanted Shower and young Sanzi dead. But humanized sacred beasts are nothing more than misled children. Regardless how furious, how outraged Senior was, were you still willing to end them? As such, I've always been watching you from the start, Senior, to see if the madness was real or not, and whether you'd be willing to kill young sacred beasts. I'm glad to say Senior has not crossed that line. That can only mean young Sanzi is safe. So I asked Senior to heal him. Joafan gave a full bow of respect. Damn you, human, are you tricking me, is that it? Heaven Sealing, CAO, set his jaw, his huge eyes turning bloodshot as he raved. Over many years, I've seen more people than I could count and know the darkness that lies in a human's nature. But you are the most sinister and cunning of all. I knew at the moment you used Old Dragon's attack. Now you're breaking my principles, twisting my beliefs so you can get your young Qilin back as good as new. No, I will not listen to you. Come fight me if you dare, but I will never do what a human asks, even if it kills me. Shower's face fell, looking worried at Joafan. He shook his head. Don't say that, Senior. I said it's my loss already. You call that a loss? Look what you did to me, and you're holding all the cards. You can leave when you want or even kill me. Why is it I can't see you lose out on anything? I lost from the very beginning. Joafan sighed, saluting. Young Sanzi's Qilin shield is damaged and Senior is the only one that can restore it. I brought him to request your help. This put me at a loss from which I could never recover. The only thing left for me to do was not to suffer a total defeat, losing even that with which I came. Nothing I could do will ever change Senior's refusal to help. That is why I asked Senior to lend a hand for the sake of the 5 sacred beasts. Heaven Sealing CAO gave him a long look, then snickered. Hi. After all that yapping, we've finally reached the real issue. Let me tell you, Senior. Joafan's shout cut him off, his gaze steeled in determination. Senior won't heal Qilin all because of me. Let me bear all of Senior's loathing towards humanity. As long as Senior agrees to save him, Senior can take a life for a life. Father, Shower cried. Heaven Sealing CAO shook, his eyes having a strange glint. Senior might deny all you want, but know that you can't do anything to me unless I let you. Qilin and Shower are both your juniors and can't do anything to stop you. I am the one who earned your ire, your bitter enemy. If you want to take out on someone, would you feel better killing me or them? Joie Fan smiled. Senior's malice needs to be let go, and I'm willing to be the means to do it, on the condition that Senior lends a hand. Chower quivered, her tearing eyes never leaving Joie Fan as she bit her lip. Drawing blood, she knew no one could change Joie Fan's mind once he was made up. This was also his only option. Cao was stunned, suspicion flashing in his eyes. Then he cackled. Hi. You're just too shrewd. Are you up to your mind games again? You think I'll sympathize and won't kill you? Wrong. I will definitely crush your bones and scatter your pieces everywhere. Cao slammed his palm on Joie Fan's head. The violent winds were sharp enough to rend the ice around Chower's. Tears flowed down her cheeks. Wait. A shout came just as the palm reached Joie Fan. The heavy palm grounded to a halt. Cao parted the claws to peek at Joie Fan with a mocking smile. Hi. I just knew you were working an angle. You played the noble sacrifice, thinking you could earn my sympathy. Once I save the Qilin, you can just use it for your mind games, making these two pups want to die for you. Sneaky human. I've seen this old trick already, and it won't work on me. Huh. Senior, that's not it. Since Senior mentioned trickery, Senior ain't exactly trustworthy either. Joie Fan's eyes shone, taking off his ring and throwing it to Chower. My sacrifice can't be in vain. Once I die, Senior Cao must save young Sanzi. But if Senior breaks his word, there's another dragon breath pill in there you can throw immediately in his face. He'll be sure to join me and young Sanzi in hell once he takes another one. Just remember not to waste words or listen to him. The instant he stalls, throw it. Chapter 1098, Backlash. Chapter 1098, Backlash. Proofreader, Papatonks. Are you threatening me? No, a mere precaution. Joie Fan had an evil grin. I believe without a doubt that Senior wants me dead while eager to help young Sanzi. The human heart, a complex concept, appears similar in some aspects to Senior's actions. As such, I am unable to confirm whether Senior would keep his word or not, contradicting himself once more. While I'm most sure that people won't readily give up their lives out of stubbornness, we all know that the true winner is the one living. You kill me, then die yourself from a tantrum? What's the point? Ha. Cao stared hard, his eyes flashing with bloodthirst. Fine, now can I get on with it? Are you that willing to give your life for the young Qilin? He's my son. There's nothing I wouldn't do. Joie Fan showed a bright smile. Cao's brow shook and the claw resumed its savage descent. Great, now die human. Whoosh. The thick bloodlust bore heavy on Joie Fan's shoulder. Father! Chower cried out, holding the thunder ring tight. Her body was shaking all over, and her heart was ready to break. Her father was about to die for young Sanzi's sake. Joie Fan sat with his back straight at the coming winds, his eyes crystal clear. The palm halted at the very end for some reason. Cao shifted it back and looked coldly at the unfazed Joie Fan. Kid, there's no chance of winning this fight. You won. Bam. Cao slammed the claw into the water, sending a huge wave all around. Joie Fan smirked. Thanks. Father. Chower was stunned. Sure, she was thrilled Joie Fan hadn't been splattered all over the place, but a large part of her was plagued by confusion and doubt. Cao lowered his eyes and said, Little Thunder Phoenix, I knew from the beginning this human was sly, but you two children meant the world to him. Under my taunts, any other cunning man would fake sincerity and gain my sympathy. He acted like he was after something to provoke me into being savage and cast all my hatred on him, while leaving you and the young Qilin out of it. You're wrong there. I really was after something. That never changed. Joie Fan threw his 2 cents. Cao shook his head. It takes a lot of nerve to admit it to my face. The fact that you were willing to take all my hatred for the children made you grow in my eyes. Joie Fan nodded. I never imagined you'd then come out of my seal and reduce me to such a state. I knew it was all to enrage me, so you could give your life for Qilins, but you really went all out. You are one shrewd prick. You almost had me fooled as well. CAO continued. It then occurred to me. Wasn't I making a mistake, perhaps? Weren't you afraid I'd kill you, then forget about saving Cheelin? As you sacrifice yourself, I then realized all of it was nothing but a grand scheme to you. You angered me just so I'd give value to your death in exchange for Cheelin. With one minor detail. Fan scratched his nose. I did aim to garner Senior's rage, but when I rained havoc on Senior, there was hardly any planning involved, doing it for Chower's sake. It felt great too, huh? CAO stumbled and then glared at him. It only proves your genuine feelings. Why get so angry if you never saw the children as your own? The victim in all of this is my weary old body, now wrecked. But with all of these, I still couldn't believe you. What had me stop my desire to end you were your eyes. My eyes? Yes. CAO sighed. I once caught a youth who had the same look as you, calm, peaceful, and steady. He only moved with the purpose of understanding the world, the Tao. He did it in the end, becoming a sovereign, becoming a dear friend of mine. Then why would he betray this bond? I never fully understood and have been in constant search of this gaze. One after another, people came, soon turning into millions upon millions, but not one proved of help on the verge of death. Everyone has anxious looks to some extent. Those self-righteous zealots are no different. So how then could such a gaze exist in the first place? Human, why didn't you have any hesitation beneath my palm? Did you truly believe I wouldn't kill you? You may be an expert in mind games and seeing my intent, but is your heart that steady even in death? Fan mused for a moment and shook his head. An unsteady heart is born out of regret. Regret gives rise to fear, anger, and many more raw emotions. I had none as I sacrificed myself for my son. I had no true regrets, just some qualms. My promise to my wife and the promise to battle with another would not be fulfilled. So that's why. CAO sighed. The Tao can be split in two, obsession and detachment. The obsessed can't achieve it unless they let go. You have detached yourself from life and death, but cling to your vows. It's rare to find such a combination of characters. Kid, you have what it takes to become a sovereign. I'm sure of it. Now it all comes down to you, if you can grab one of the 10 paths to heaven. Fan nodded. CAO raised its head, and with a rumble, something flew out of his mouth. A blue and clear ice landed on the ground in the 1x2 meters. Young Sanzi rested. Brother. Chower cried in joy. With Fan looked on with hope. CAO wiped his mouth. He only survived by luck. I put him inside a pocket in my body, or he'd have died from the dragon fire. Senior, my stomach makes the heaven-sealing coffin. CAO said. His Cheelin shield is damaged, and to heal it I needed my gastric juices to permeate his body. The child will stay in the ice coffin for 49 days. The moment it thaws will be the day he is healed. Fan bowed and cupped his hands in gratitude. Thank you, Senior. I shall never forget this. Chower bowed as well, all smiles. You were right. As a sacred beast myself, we're unique, and it would bring me solitude in a world less of one. But us, old ones, are stuck in our prisons and can't look after them and need someone reliable. Uncle CAO, weren't you hating humans? Now you're entrusting us to one? Chower started, then giggled. CAO shook his head. This is hardly a solution, forced into taking the lesser evil. Humans are hateful, but having been so close to them at some point, I could feel their deep love and sense of duty. For my hatred to be so strong, my love had to be just as strong. In any case, it's better to give you over to someone I can trust than to some twisted people. Fan, these two shall be in your care. In this whole wide world, there's only 5 of us sacred beasts left. Senior, be at ease knowing I only have them as children. Fan nodded. CAO nodded and smiled back. This human is similar to the first, both pursuing Tao. I hope he'll never change. Pa! A sudden sharp sound echoed, and Fan's eyes bled out. What's wrong, kid? I don't know. Fan's brow shook, his face hard. Pa! The second time, Fan felt his eyes burning in their sockets and held them. Again and again, cracking sounds echoed, with the black thunder flame leaking from between his fingers and going berserk. It spread like a tide of destruction as it covered Zhua Fan. Just how, when he fought CO, only this time, the thunder flame was out of control, the pain growing so bad he had to wail out. Apocalyptic thunder flame, something that should never be in this world, ran amok. Chapter 1099, Hearts Connected. Chapter 1099, Hearts Connected. Proofreader, Papatonks. Who? Cold winds blasted and a thick black fog dyed everything in shades of gray. Looking akin to purgatory, Bali Yu watched with worry as the black mist stopped its invasion. Behind her was Shui Ruohua, helping Chu Qingqing. She looked behind her at the open teleportation array and worried as well. What's taking them so long? Did something happen? Rustle. The grass moved, and Wu Qingxiu, with Ouyang Chongqing and the rest, dragged their feet over to their salvation. But seeing the girls, they started. You should have been long gone by now. Why are you still here? The guy's slow wife refused to go, so we decided to wait for you. I would simply force her through if worst comes to worst. Bali Yu rolled her eyes and pointed at Chu Qingqiang behind her. And where is he anyway? Is he all right? Ouyang Chongqing knew who she mentioned and sighed in exhaustion. He went after the sea demon. It's going to take a while before he arrives. We'd better leave first. The sea demon. Haven't you noticed the creeping black fog? Ouyang Chongqing nodded and asked, Big sister, you should have seen how good Big Brother Zhui is. He beat up 3 sword kings, and after challenging Invincible Sword, dashed straight in to face the sea demon. Invincible Sword must have followed after Big Brother for a fight as well without delay, all plunging straight into the black fog. You're telling me Patriarch is after Zhua Fan? Bali Yu gasped in fright. Is he going to survive with Patriarch on his heels? Ouyang Chongqing smirked. Big sister, take it easy. Dad said the sea demon is worse by a mile than Invincible Sword. Since Big Brother went for the sea demon, then what's there to fear some Invincible Sword? I'm sure that with a savage beast before him, Invincible Sword would be sure to turn into a sniveling coward. The only danger to Big Brother can only come from the sea demon. It would make Invincible Sword look like an amateur by comparison. Ahem, look who you're speaking to. Wu Qingxiu glared and cleared his throat before speaking heavily. Frigid Rain Sword King. Ouyang Chongqing is crude in his meaning. Brother Zhua is level-headed and would not come all the way to face the sea demon without precaution. If he can handle the sea demon, that means Invincible Sword is of no consequence. Yeah, so lighten up. You're better off worrying about our situation. Dad said once the sea demon's black fog spreads, everyone is done for. They're now trying to stop it. We better take the chance and run, so as not to drag them down. Then leave, coward. Bali Yu bore her sharp stare into him. I don't know how dangerous the sea demon is, but I am clear on Patriarch's strength. No, once Patriarch is after him, no begging from my part will spare him. Bali Yu shot for the black fog, shouting behind her, Leave. I've escorted you here, so I fulfilled his request. Now even Big Sis left. With all of us injured, we'll be dead for sure if anything happens. Ouyang Chongqing chuckled and shrugged, staring hard at the open teleportation array. So we're going, right? Right? Wu Qingxiu sighed with a twitching face. Do you have to ask? Staying won't do any of us any good. And made the first move towards leaving, with others close behind. Wait, Senior Brother Wu. Qingqing won't leave. Shui Ruohua cried after him. We've been here for a while, but Qingqing refuses to budge. It feels like she won't leave until Zhua Fan returns. Wu Qingxiu sighed in understanding. Junior sister Chu won't be pleased, but staying here will only burden Brother Zhua. We're leaving, even if we must force Junior sister Chu to come along. Wu Qingxiu and Yi Lin shared a look and flanked Chu Qingqing. Ouyang Chongqing was most eager, joining them with a bright smile. Sister-in-law, pardon me. It's for your own good. Big Brother Zhua doesn't want you hurting. I know you can't understand me, so sorry. The guys grabbed her shoulders. Akin to divine intervention. Chu Qingqiang heard a most familiar wail. She shuddered, and the guys were blown away. Ouyang Chongqing even staggered before smacking his rear on the pavement. The sharp pain made him wince and tear up as sister-in-law. Please, we're only trying to help. Why shield yourself with yuan qi and hurt us? Don't you know how injured we are? We can't take your. While he was whining, the Western Lands group looked at Chu Qingcheng in shock. In all these years, Chu Qingcheng had lost her mind. She hardly showed any reaction, let alone using yuan qi for anything. Did this mean she was back? They all lit up, with Shui Rohua grabbing her shoulder in excitement. Qingcheng, why you're awake. Zijua fan. After all these years silent, she stammered a familiar name, her eyes flashing now, and then everyone was overjoyed. It's a miracle, or maybe triumphant love. In only a few days, Brother Zhua did what we couldn't in years of trying. A heart can heal only with the right medicine. Shui Ruohua was ecstatic, tears of joy brimming in her eyes. Chu Qingqing's lips trembled, while her eyes took on a look of horror. Zijua Fan is in danger. He's in danger. She then shot in the air, straight into the black mist. Qingcheng wait. Shui Ruohua panicked and rushed right after her, but the minute she tried using her energy, she coughed blood, falling back. None of the ethers could do anything. Too weak to follow, they came out wounded from the fight with the 10 princes, and merely walking was a miracle. Flying was out of the question. Watching Chu Qingcheng vanish, Ouyang Chongqing sighed. Where's big sister when you need her? Sister-in-law hasn't been hurt like us, making it impossible to catch her. Did she snap? She's not crazy, just her mind dulled. Since she woke up just now, why take off like that? Wu Qingqiu frowned as he pondered. She mentioned Zhua Fan being in danger. Did you hear her too? Ouyang Chongqing shrugged. Maybe she's hearing things, or restless. Big Brother Zhua is definitely in danger in the black mist, but how could we ever know? We're not only miles away, but even standing before the mist, there's no way to notice whatever's going on in there. How is sister-in-law so sure then? She totally snapped. Then I fear. Wu Qingqiu looked in the distance, then sighed. Their hearts are connected. That means Brother Zhua is in serious peril. The rest tensed, looking grave and worried. Bali Yu was rushing through the dark fog when she stumbled upon 4 people flying out. She gasped in recognition. Ugh, can I just pretend I didn't see them? Bali Yu shook, conflicted between Zhua Fan and the mist, and the 4 people. She wanted to make sure Zhua Fan was safe, which was impossible if the 4 caught up to her. So she spotted some ruins around and wanted to avoid them like a plague. But that blasted Bailey Yuyun just had to spot her just then, shouting, "Is that Yuyu? Come quick, Patriarch's hurt." Chapter 1100 Wait. Chapter 1100 Wait. Proofreader, Papatonks. Damn you and those blasted eyes of yours. I was this close to dodging you. Just you wait. The moment I get the chance, I'll be sure to gouge those shifty eyes out of your skull. Bali Yuyu's heart raged while flying over to the 4 in annoyance disguised as shock. Patriarch is hurt? How? Is this how you 3 protect him? Bailey Yuyun sighed. Not even our best was enough. The sea demon is absurd. He couldn't even touch him. The sea demon is that strong. For even Patriarch to... Bali Yuyu's heart sank, knowing Zhua Fan was in there alone with that beast. How could Zhua Fan stand a chance where invincible sword failed? Filled with worry, Bailey Yu turned to the black fog with tense fists. Bailey Yutian failed to notice Bailey Yuyu's shift. Maybe the deep wounds scrambled his senses. He coughed iced and burning blood and sighed. I've never seen strength like the sea demons. I have suffered a complete defeat. But this is only the beginning. One day I will come to challenge Ag Dasha. Invincible sword coughed fire and ice again. His face white as paper. Patriarch, don't speak. We better look for a quiet place to heal. We can't ignore your wounds. Bailey Yun urged. Invincible sword waved him off, sighing and looking at the black fog behind with determination. No, I'm staying. I have lost, but I want to see with my own eyes the result of such a powerful showdown and its victor. Powerful showdown. Bailey Yu lit up. Patriarch, is someone still in there fighting the sea demon? Bailey Yutian took a deep breath and nodded. Bailey Yun sighed with a grumble. Yu, speaking of, I have something to say to you. How in heaven's name did you even do your investigation? Because of you, we were this close to making a mess of this and getting wiped out. What did I do? Bailey Yu was baffled. Bailey Yu spat. You have an to ask? Did you not say that your kid is in soul harmony stage at best? A trifle? Yeah, why? Why? Did it ever occur to you that the misty next to him might have a powerful bauble to give us, Sword Kings, heavy wounds? That child almost had all three of us killed. Bailey Yu shot a reproaching glare, with the two nodding along. Feeling victimized, it was utterly mortifying for a wee girl to make them scramble away in fright. If word got out in the central area, they'd have no self-respect left to even walk outside. Bailey Yu gave a confused shake of her head. You mean Xiao? But she's adorable. How can she be tough? Adorable? That's news to me. Bailey Yun's face twitched, fuming along with his two brothers, like father like daughter, like master like disciple. With the small one godlike, the parent couldn't be any lesser. Did you not know she has a trinket to handle Sword Kings? What's worse, her dad had something that could end Patriarch. Heaven almighty, he just took out a 9th level Imperial beast for crying out loud. His spirit animal no less. That's a damn 9th level Imperial beast. I'm willing to bet not all 9 Sword Kings combined could put a dent in its plumage before getting annihilated. SSS. Bailey Yu gasped. A 9th level Imperial beast? Wasn't that just a myth? It exists. And he has one. You didn't know. Not a hint. That's why I'm asking. How did you make your investigation? Bailey Yun huffed and puffed, turning at the end to Bailey Yuqian. We were fortunate Patriarch skill is divine to kill the 9H level Imperial beast, the true best in the lands. Ignoring the blatant suck-up, Bailey Yutian felt he was at the lowest point in his life to mind anything else. Bailey Yu's heart jumped in shock. Patriarch killed the beast? When it was his turn, did Patriarch finish him off? Ugh. Bailey Yun shook from a sudden chill, his face sinking. He peeked at Invincible's sword, then barked, "Don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong." He can never again be mentioned anywhere near Patriarch. But aren't I talking with you, Brother Yin? I'm saying your info is faulty and almost got us killed. Don't mention it again. All right. Bailey Yuqian raised his voice, sighing at the black fog. I was about to fight with him when the sea demon arrived. He was after the sea demon, and I wanted to meet it too. All of us entered its domain. I arrived there just to see him frozen by the sea demon and challenge the beast. It ended with me frozen as well before I could even get close. By the time I woke up, I found myself gravely wounded along with the 3 of them. But I witnessed a most shocking scene, one that I would never forget for as long as I live. What? Bailey Yu was nervous, eager to know Bailey Yutian's side. Zhua Fan and the sea demon fought. He was clearly not to its level, but thanks to an ingenious skill, he was slowly gaining advantage. The sea demon was forced to just take his attacks. That happened after sea demon was gravely wounded, near death. I don't know how he did it, but I'm certain he was behind it. It was thanks to a showdown with the sea demon that a heat wave blasted over us and thawed the ice while also leaving us with deep wounds. With how the sea demon suffered at such a blow, it's clear that once the 2 of us fought, I'd have been reduced to ashes. What invincible sword, ha ha ha! I've been blind all my life, unable to see the vastness of the world. The Sword Kings lower their heads. Bailey Yun shot a glare at Bailey Yu. See? This is what your report did, downplaying the tiger into a cat. He almost ripped us to shreds. It's given me the chills just thinking about it. Bailey Yu was stumped, blinking her big dull eyes of their fog. The guy is that great? He sure didn't look like it. Patriarch, you're waiting for the fight to end, but how will you find out the winner? It'd be better if you tended your wounds. Bailey Yun bowed. Bailey Yutian said, It's simple. We can't see their fight, but the end will be obvious. If Zhua Fan wins, he'll be coming out. If the sea beast won, the black fog would retreat, leaving nothing behind it. Retreat? Why would he? Ha ha ha. The sea demon would have won a Pyrrhic victory. Is he supposed to wait here for other humans to kill it instead of licking his wounds? Bailey Yutian's eyes shone with conviction. So I'll be waiting right here for the conclusion and confirm my next great rival. The Sword Kings started and nodded. Staying with him, Bali Yu was nervous as she remained here, waiting not for the end, but with hope in her heart that he would come out of the black mist whoosh. Someone shot past just then and plunged into the fog. Bali Yu cried out. Didn't she transfer away? What's she doing here? Can't those louses do anything? Oh, someone found it tedious and came to die. Bali Yu noticed and mocked. That right there is a fight that could end even us watching from the sidelines. For a mere girl in the 5th layer of ethereal stage to go in is plain suicidal. Ha ha ha. Or maybe the kid won and she'll be safe. Or the kid lost and the sea demon wouldn't spare a single human. It's all up to fate. Ha ha ha. The 3 Sword Kings jeered, with Bali Yu nervous as to what to do. Should she go in? But she squashed the thought as soon as it popped. I was to save her for that rotten punk, but now he's in a fight to the death, so why bother with her fate? Whatever, let her go. It's all the same to me, however she ends up. Bali Yu's eyes shone coldly, her heart taking a crueler stance. It's better if she's gone. Then the punk would have no one to worry about. Huh. Chapter 1101, 4 Sacred Beasts. Chapter 1101, 4 Sacred Beasts. Proofreader, Papatonks. In a world of snow and ice, Zhuofan howled with black flames writhing all over him. Shower panicked, turning to CAO. Uncle, what's happening? The divine eye of the void he inherited is too weak, while the black thunder flame is savage power beyond any level, now out of his control. Going to extremes, it's very easy for the black flame to run amok, eating him instead. Heaven's Sealing, CAO, was grave. He has been using the eye's skill through the fight, and the divine eye of the void reached its limit for controlling the thunder flame's nature, thus lashing out. But where did he get the thunder flame from? Why is it so violent? Why doesn't my seal work on it? Shower grew anxious. Uncle CAO, Dad's apocalyptic thunder flame, is made of 4 sacred beast powers of terrible strength. How can it be controlled? The power of 4 sacred beasts? How? Heaven Sealing CAO started and paused. Did 9 Serenity's research succeed? Kid, whose successor are you? My master is 9 Serenity's sovereign act. I see, then the old guy did it. Heaven Sealing CAO nodded and sighed. That's why the thunder flame is so wild, made up of 4 sacred beast powers, while above our level, so my sealing doesn't work. Uncle CAO, help him. There has to be something we can do. Shower could not take it anymore. Zhuofan's wails, and seeing him cooked under the flame brought her to tears as she urged Heaven Sealing CAO. The BA sighed. The kid gave his all, and summoned taking all my malice for humanity, so he could save young Cheelin. I admire his spirit, and I could have helped at the start, but weak as I am from the old dragon's fire, it is impossible to suppress the thunder flame. Water and fire are opposite, and I'm also powerless right now. Or else I would have sealed him as he jumped around. What can we do? Nothing. I'm hanging by a thread as is. Heaven Sealing CAO shook his head. Shower was crying now, filled with pain and worry for Zhuofan Whoosh. 3 flashes came out of the thick black fog, and straight for Heaven Sealing CAO, the 3 divine swords that slipped out of their owner's grasp sent CAO's energy and shot for it. To kill this sacred beast, Heaven Sealing CAO winced, about to submerge under the sea. But Heaven Sealing sword flew around the beast and sent a sword wave freezing his body and placed the other 2 divine swords stabbed deep into his shoulders. Drawing blood, Heaven Sealing CAO roared in pain. Curses, despicable, striking someone who is down. Have you no shame ganging up on me? Is this how your master taught you? To mock him, the divine swords gathered, then split again, each striking from a different direction and punching holes in CAO's bulk. Uncle CAO, what's wrong? 3 swords can't be that tough. Why? Shower cried out. Heaven Sealing CAO felt like crying. I know these sacred weapons better than you. They can't do much without absorbing sacred stones, but as I am now, I can't even seal them. They're taking advantage of my state and with the fire and water in conflict within my body, stopping me from sealing them. Not to mention they're sharp as hell. I can't hold on much longer, Ak. CAO howled in pain, with Shower by herself in worry. What do I do? I'll take on a sacred weapon for you. Don't. They may be weak now, but you're no match still. You'll only die. CAO shook his large head to stop her. He waved his large palm around and slapped the heaven-sealing sword away the two swords. However, used the opening to shoot through his chest, drawing another howl out of him. Even with the flesh wounds the sword were giving him, with enough time death would come in the end. Not to mention his bane was among them. The heaven-sealing sword CAO grew restless by the second. What rotten luck today has brought. I should have just stayed home instead. Thinking humans were at war, he planned on causing extra damage to them, only to be the one to get damaged and near death. Blast it all to hell. Couldn't I have checked the stars before coming here? Whoosh! The divine swords ran circles around him, making CAO cry out every time. Shower was unable to sit still from anxiety. CAO was the only one that could help Zhuofan. Without him, Zhuofan was doomed. She was powerless to help anyone. Divine Eye of the Void's 7th stage, Void Seal. Beneath the corrosive thunder flame, 7 golden rings shone, followed by a shout like that of a beast from Helheim. The 3 divine swords jerked, but they reacted too slow to get away, and the spatial ripple caught them. The swords clanged on the ice, their sword spirits gone heaven, sealing CAO side crack. Act! The black thunder flame grew more berserk, eating away Zhuofan's entire left eye. Without it to curb it, the thunder flame feasted itself on Zhuofan, giving him searing pain. Father, Shower cried out in tears, with CAO hesitating. Kid, thank you for that. I'm amazed you'd help me despite the cruel predicament you're in. Ha ha ha, it's nothing. Zhuofan strained to swallow the agonizing cries as he smiled. I was not helping you. I never owe anyone anything. You saved my son, then consider the debt paid. That won't do, not when saving a fellow sacred beast is a must. Heaven-sealing CAO spoke. Zhuofan said, You're saving young Sanzi as a sacred beast, but he's my son. Such a favor I have to pay back. Also, this is also my wish. I knew the thunder flame would take me one day. It just so happened to be today. My life was doomed from the start. But young Sanzi and Shower have yet to grow and protect themselves. Few are those worthy of absolute trust in this world as well. Sorry, but now it's my turn to entrust you. These children need someone. Senior CAO is their elder, worthy of trust. I saved you so that you may become their rock. I hope seniors will look after them. Shower, I'm going. Use the recoil array to free seniors from their torment. This is your future and your only hope. They'll look after you and be safe. I'll also give you the tools to achieve it. Find Wu Randong in the Serene Shores trading. I had everything laid out. Father, Shower kneeled at his feet in tears. Zhuofan smiled, wishing to hold her one last time, but drew back his hand after seeing the violent black flames. His road was at an end. But unlike his last life, he had a legacy, making it worth it. Zhuofan took a deep breath and closed his eyes, focusing on reining in the pain he felt, yet his heart was at peace. This life has been brief, but fulfilling. CAO shouted at last. Kid, it's too soon to give up. I can't stop the black flames, but I can give you the means to do it yourself. Take it. Heaven-sealing CAO gouged out his eye. Blood spurted like a fountain. Dyeing the sea red, CAO offered his palm, and in it rested a blue and dazzling eye. Chapter 1102, Blue Glow. Chapter 1102, Blue Glow. Proofreader, Papatonks. Uncle CAO. Shower shuddered, looking stunned at the huge bloody eye. CAO smirked, gazing upon the eye and the scar it had. That brat, Sword Sovereign, gave a scratch, but it still has my sealing power. It should work in sealing the black fire from exploding. Really? Shower lit up. CAO nodded, smiling despite the blood seeping from the empty socket. Zhuofan grimaced as he strove to speak. Senior CAO? thank you for your assistance. I am very sorry to have made you to sacrifice Senior's eye. Haha, it's just a useless eyeball. Nothing to it. CAO said, you helped me deal with the sacred weapons. Being incapable of letting go of some, I would only make me look no different from those despicable humans. I would then have no ground and right to hate them. Now get ready to take my seal. I don't like owing anyone, just like you. CAO threw his eye and used his palms to pressure the huge eye and send power into it, soon shining blue. It then shrank down to the size of a human eyeball, drifting toward Juefan encased in black flames. The violent fire sensed a deep chill coming from it and cooled somewhat, relaxing from the unspeakable pain. Juefan sighed, nodding at CAO. He waited for the blue glow to enter his body and get the flames under control. Whoosh. The eye was about to enter its new place when fire flashed by and sent the eye flying. CAO crying out in shock. What was that? Thunderflame, void annihilation. Juefan looked stumped. Why? I didn't even use it, Ack. He clutched his head as the black flames came back with a vengeance. Thunder flames cracked the air as it shot all over. Juefan raised his heavy head, sending lightning like a machine gun. The dangerous thunder flame struck down in endless numbers, leaving everywhere black flames. Shower jumped away, trying not to get that terrible fire from touching her. Heaven Sealing CAO had trouble with his large bulk, taking on dozens of thunder flames. He once again howled in pain as blood seeped out from the new wounds. Juefan gripped his head in agony. His right eye's 7 golden halos flickered, with traces of black thunder flame on their edges, and eating their way through the gold shower cried out, dodging while shouting, Uncle CAO, what do we do? You have to help him. Ack, blast it. His black flames made the divine eye of the void lash out as well. Heaven Sealing CAO howled as he jerked from every hit. Divine Eye of the Void is Heavenly Sovereign's top skill, focused on the void in particular. In layman terms, it's a vessel sealing large amounts of power for his use. But even he could only ever hold the berserk purple lightning. Now the kid holds the far more ruthless apocalyptic thunderflame. His skill is far below Heavenly Sovereign as well, and makes it impossible to contain such insane power, as he can't seal the thunderflame. It runs amok. Before it was just a bit of violent outburst, while now it crushed its vessel. Divine Eye of the Void has been infected and got out of control as well. The kid is in dire straits now. Once Divine Eye of the Void is ruined, he loses any means of holding the power, and it would burn him to ashes. Shower cried out, what do we do? Where's your eye? Can it help, Dad? Not anymore. CAO shook his head with a deep frown. He had the Divine Eye of the Void to help settle the savage flames with my eye. Now the Divine Eye of the Void is out of control and has no vessel. Nothing can contain this power, not even me. Can't your eye act as vessel? Are you kidding? I am Heaven Sealing CAO with the innate power of sealing. My eye has the same power. It's already full of it to accept anything else. CAO rolled his eyes. And what spatial power is stronger anyway than Heavenly Sovereign's Divine Eye of the Void? His ocular skill rises in power with the user. It's not like a sacred beast's innate ability. Not to mention the Thunder Flame is above our powers. We have no hope of containing it. It can only be the Divine Eye of the Void. My eye has the power to settle it, so he could get it under control. There's nothing we can do to save Father. It's unclear. CAO shook his head. He just lost control of Divine Eye of the Void for now, and is yet to be ruined as well. We just have to purge the thunder flame from his body, and I'll seal his eyes. With nothing to generate the flames, it will settle. The problem is how to do it. As he is now, he's a chariot run amok. We have to seal the eye generating the thunder flame, then the Divine Eye of the Void to mend it. Whoosh! Black thunder flame shot by his face in streaks and exploded high in HD sky, punching a huge hole. And it was a bizarre view, a fantastical paradise of rivers, mountains, and nature. SSS. CAO gasped, dumbstruck. Shower shouted, This is Father's power? His Thunderflame Void Annihilation is amazing, but not like this. He wouldn't have needed three-headed crow otherwise to intimidate the Sword King's an invincible sword. This isn't his, it's the thunder flame exerting far more than he can handle. Blanking a few seconds, Cao turned to Zhuofan and shook his head. The thunder flame is out of his complete control, and it only grows stronger until it consumes him. If we want to save him, we need to seal it fast. Xiaoer panicked, crying from feebleness. The thunder flame was beyond deadly, and now that the divine eye of the void went crazy too, everything was truly apocalyptic. Who could stop something like this? Father is the source, so how in heaven's name do we remove all thunder flames from him? Xiaoer had tears streaming down her cheeks as she watched Shua howling in the flames. Cao dodged the painful strikes while looking at the eye in his hand with a sigh. It's too late now. Whoosh! A flash of white streaked past them, ignoring the savage flames and hugging Zhuofan's contorted figure from pain. Soft lips then took his hu. A twister enveloped the two, with the woman in white unleashing a pure glow that soon covered the two of them. They had formed around them an exquisite array that shook the world, with the spiritual energy from everywhere surging over. Zhuofan's black thunder flame surged like a tide at the woman mother. Xiaoer muttered. Heaven sealing Cao started, looking at the spiritual energy flow around them and lit up. There's always a way. The brat must have saved the world in his last life to have such godlike luck. Heaven sealing Cao, we can seal it. Cao gripped the eye, and his lone eye shone with determination. Chapter 1103, Cosmic Soul Nurturing Array. Chapter 1103, Cosmic Soul Nurturing Array. Proofreader, Papatonks. In a black space, the black flames spread to every corner, burning the 500-meter-long prismatic dragon. It howled from pain, its pristine scales and sharp claws eaten away in moments. The dragon's size was reduced to a third. The dragon squinted and sighed. He gave up hope. With the death of my soul, I'll be erased from this world. The dragon closed its eyes. At peace, he had given up on everything. But then Cao gave his eye to save him, sparking hope. Now not even Cao could do anything to get him out of this disaster. All these changes led to an uneasy heart from peace. He was better off not even trying, alive or dead. Zhuofan, haven't you made peace with it? The dragon smiled, free of pain and ignoring the burning flames who. A wind blew out of nowhere, brushing the flames and the dragon. The huge dragon froze. Where's the pain? He opened his eyes to gaze in shock. Where's the thunder flame? The cooling breeze passed once more through the space. Pure light followed, shining down like fireflies, bringing a touch of color to this dark place and hope into the huge dragon's eyes. Why is this light so familiar? The dragon stared, feeling soothed under the glow as the light slowly seeped into his body and healed his battered soul. The huge dragon stood proud and majestic once more. What's going on? I was about to die, so why am I alive? Where did the light come from? Did Senior Cao manage to save me? Can I go back to Qingcheng and fight the invincible sword? The dragon roared in laughter, focusing his senses on his real body SSS. The thunder flame was still around, but Zhuofan's pain subsided. Opening his eyes, what he saw left him in utter shock. Qingcheng. Chu Qingcheng was hugging and kissing him, though her eyes were still lost. She had done this out of nothing but instinct. Qingcheng, hurry and let go. Zhuofan's eyes shook, noticing the ravaging thunder flame around him and Chu Qingcheng. He shouted with panic. He wanted to get his lover away and not drag her down, only to find out he had no strength to even twitch a finger. Leaving him confused, Cao smiled. Awake, are we? Kid, I don't know what miracles you did in your past life to have someone exchange their life to save yours in such a doomed situation. You truly are fortunate. Exchange with mine? Zhuofan reacted at last. The thunder flame now moved from him to Chu Qingcheng and burned her instead. Zhuofan gasped, finding himself powerless to help. Qingcheng, leave. I don't want you to save me. Just go. Chu Qingcheng didn't hear him. her sightless eyes staring back at him with her body, using her yuan qi to take his flames into herself. Zhuofan's heart was in constant pain. The right eye and the now empty and black left socket shedding bitter tears of sorrow. Qing Chung, leave. I don't need saving. Kid, you just don't know how to count your blessings. Who could save you as you are? Cao glanced at him. That thunder flame is devastating and needs the right vessel to contain all its power. But this girl has the empty spirit body. Do you know what that means? Since ancient times, hardly anyone understood its real implications. Allow me to enlighten you. Heavenly Sovereign has the empty spirit body. It's why he got to create the divine eye of the void and grasp sovereignty through the spatial path. Now you get it? She has the same body as Heavenly Sovereign. She can take on your divine eye of the void's role into containing the violent thunder flames. Her soul is a domain soul practicing arrays. With the power of one person, an array can be formed. This array is baffling, able to draw upon the cosmic cycle's power, but not to fight. It is to help. Your soul was about to fade, but the girl saved you in time. Even with the flames off you, you'd end up a wreck with that ruined soul of yours. Now, though, your very core is intact and safe, able to reach sovereignty without a worry. And all thanks to this lass, Zhuofan shuddered, looking around lost. Thanks to his extensive experience in arrays, he could glean into its functions despite not having a base. Cosmic Soul Nurturing Array. How? Can someone know it? How is it you know it? Zhuofan shed tears as she looked at Chu Qingsheng, his heart in agony. I clearly ruined it. Yes, even as a sacred beast, I can tell this array focuses on soul recovery, a life for a life. Every soul is unique, making using the array lead to soul clashes. That's why only the empty spirit body can use it. Cao sighed. Kid, no one would ever turn their soul into panacea for another, unless she did it for one person to save him when he needed it most. Kid, you're fortunate to have someone who cares for you so much to give their life for you. The tears flowed out of his control. Zhuofan stared into Chu Qingqing's empty eyes, filled with sorrow and anguish. Her only thoughts were for me, but she still doesn't recognize me. Zhuofan shouted, Chower, get her back. Chower shook and took a step forward. It's too late now. Cao spoke. They're both affected by the thunder flame. Taking the girl will only lead to both of them dying. Let this continue, and the brat can be saved. It's either both of you die, or just one. The choice should be obvious for a smart guy like you. Then I'll die with her. Throw her off yourself then. Don't involve the little Thunder Phoenix. Cao snapped back. Little Thunder Phoenix sees you as a father and her as mother. She'll be killing the both of you. As a father, you should not let your own child carry such guilt. Senior Cao, you do it. Don't feel like it. I gouge my eye out for you and everything. Letting you die would mean I maim myself for nothing. Cao glared at him and turned to the pitiful Chiao. This is love, something every sovereign experienced. He needs his pain. But father, Qingsheng hesitated, watching Zhuofan struggle to get Chu Qingsheng away. Cao smiled. He's now weak due to the thunder flame, exhausting his yuan qi. As drained as he is, he can do nothing but go with our wishes. Cao glanced at the two. The black flames were mostly on Chu Qingsheng now, leaving only a little left within Zhuofan's body. Chu Qingsheng could take in no more, and the more there was of the thunder flame, the faster she burned. At this rate, the flames would consume her before she finished. Cao mulled over the situation, his eyes drifting to the three divine swords. The lass alone can't take all the flames. We need to amplify the array. Cao flicked, and the three divine swords floated over as he mumbled. The array uses the heaven cycle's power and needs the 5 elements at its core to showcase its might. But we don't have them. I'm only able to replace earth, fire, water, and wind. Heaven Sealing. Cao held out a scarlet sword and stuck it at a spot around Chu Qingsheng. Soaring sword, representing the boundless earth. Ding! Soaring sword was on Chu Qingsheng's left, shining scarlet, heaven-sealing sword, representing the surging water. Ding! Heaven-sealing sword stuck 3 meters from Chu Qingcheng, decimating sword, representing the scorching fire. Ding! Decimating sword stabbed, where CAO gesture. The problem was, what came next? CAO frowned, but heard a whistle as a black sword floated before him, its blade quivering. Chapter 1104, Sovereign Path. Chapter 1104, Sovereign Path. Proofreader, Papatonks. Vaulting sword, heaven-sealing. CAO just stared at it for a while, flinching awake. What's with that look? I didn't even recognize you. Then his eyes lit up. The sword spirit changed, right? Ding! Vaulting sword hummed in agreement. Why else wouldn't you gang up on me with the others? It all makes sense. You change your master. Ha ha. CAO laughed, then grew grave. The kid sure is something to change, even a sacred sword spirit for his own use. As a heavenly sovereign inheritor, it's only natural, though. That means you want to save your master as well. Go! Vaulting sword, representing the billowing wind. Heaven-sealing. CAO pointed, and the vaulting sword struck the exact spot, 3 meters from Chu Qingcheng with the 4 divine swords included. The array surged and the earth shook. The black thunder flame on Chu Qingcheng spread among the divine swords, tainting them black with lightning. Chu Qingcheng shook as well, taking in more of Zhuo Fan's black flames into herself. Through the array, her power increased and took it all in with greater speed, leaving the excess her body could not contain to the 4 divine swords for the next half hour. Zhuo Fan watched as the thunder flame left from him to Chu Qingcheng with tears in his eyes and pain in his heart. Chu Qingcheng was committed, despite the fire eroding her into nothingness 2 hours later. The last trace of thunder flame left Zhuo Fan. CAO went fast into action before any more were generated in his body. He shot the blue eye into Zhuo Fan's face, burrowing into the left socket and releasing icy energy hum. Divine Eye of the Void was still out of control and felt hostility towards this intruder, shining in 7 golden halos, unleashing a terrible power. Luck had it the Divine Eye of the Void was far from trained to perfection, just at the 7th stage. While CAO's I belonged to a sacred beast, albeit damaged, it still proved enough. Using it while the apocalyptic thunder flame had still been around, though, and the Divine Eye of the Void would have had the upper hand with the main problem gone. The Divine Eye of the Void alone posed no danger. Even Heavenly Sovereign showed its strongest power when both eyes worked together. One eye was easy to seal before Divine Eye of the Void got any more ideas. Heaven-sealing. CAO held out his palm and unleashed a cold twister upon Zhuo Fan. The heaven-sealing I joined in to cover both eyes. SSS. Zhuo Fan's eyes had a layer of ice over them, with a cryptic seal forming on his forehead with it. Zhuo Fan's vision went black, losing sight of everything, including that of his wife burning away from the black fire. Who? Heaven-sealing. CAO eased a long breath, nodding. Kid, the apocalyptic thunder flame, I ran amok, damaging Divine Eye of the Void as well. You'll have a hard time controlling the 2 skills for the next while. I have used a heaven seal on your eyes to save them. When the Divine Eye of the Void recovers, you will grasp the seal on apocalyptic thunder flame, and can open it. Abusing the thunder flame will only get you killed. It's for your own good, so you better take care. Qingcheng. Zhuo Fan only focused on his grip on Chu Qingcheng's hand, his ears flooded with the hissing of the black flames. He didn't need eyes to know, the sorrow eating him up inside as he bit his lip. Qingcheng, answer me, even if it's with few words. Why do you want to save me? Chu Qingcheng stared back, devoid of any emotion, even as the black thunder flame ate her flesh. Then she closed her eyes as her life got drained away. Zhuo Fan howled, his emotions all over the place. He couldn't even cry from the seal. CAO sighed. There's no fault in a man's tears. Crying helps in times of great sorrow. Though it doesn't look like you can, nothing coming out from a seal. This girl can't be saved either. May she rest in peace. Cao's eyes held nothing but respect for her. Humans are the most fascinating creatures, capable of so much evil, but there are also those worthy of respect. Ah! Juefan cried himself hoarse, shouting at the sky with a red face. His heart, unable to bear this crushing sorrow, Chower watched her father's weak struggle and mother's demise in tears. She forced the sobs away, though, not wishing to cause more pain to her father. Cao sighed. The young Thunder Phoenix is more human by the second. But I don't hate it, ha ha ha. Sorrow took Cao, as well as he watched Chu Qingsheng almost gone under the Thunder Flame's attack. The body is almost finished, and now comes the soul. Once it is gone, she may rest. You have given me one last frail hope in humanity. Qingsheng. With Juefan's last cry of immense grief. One tear, shining in 7 colors, came from beyond the icy seal and fell down his face. Heaven sealing, Cao gasped. How? Not even the black flames can escape my seal. So, how can a tear? The tear was just that grand, defying his common sense as it swaggered down. It was like smacking him senseless. Is there a leak in my seal, or what? Even so, there's no way a mere tear can slip out. Juefan was in too much pain to register his cry of shock, using his all just to shout his pain. His mind blacked out, and he fell limp, but the prismatic tear fell from his face and onto the still burning Chu Qingsheng home. A multicolored light exploded, erasing the black flames. A mote of white floated out of the body under the cover of the prismatic light, coming before Cao, the undying sovereign path. Heaven sealing, Cao gasped, looking at Juefan in stupefaction. How can it be? How can a kid have a sovereign path's protection? Only the 10 sovereigns can. Cao's eyes grew grave. Just who on earth is he? Chower started, pointing at the prismatic glow. Uncle Cao, what's that? Any that delved deep in a Tao becomes a forefather of that path, a sovereign. As he forms his sovereign path, he grasped from the heavens. He would be as undying as the world itself. Graver than ever, Cao glanced at the prismatic light. This glow can only come from those understanding the 10 paths to heaven, something only a sovereign can wield. The sovereign path is the core of their beliefs. They would never fall so long as it stays strong. The girl was on the brink of having her soul erased, but the sovereign path saved her last trace. Chower was overjoyed. Does that mean Mother is saved? Of course, and not just saved, but protected under the sovereign path. There's only a handful of beings that can touch her in the world. Cao's eye shook as he watched Juefan unconscious from a heartache, his eye gleaming. Young Thunder Phoenix, just who is your godfather? Why does he know one of the 10 paths to heaven? Chower started, then shook her head, looking between the two. Cao turned to the huge hole the thunder flame punched in the sky, slowly mending. He snatched the resplendent glow in his hand and threw it into the black hole. The hole then closed right after it swallowed it. Regardless of how this path came to be, with a kid so special, I must get his favor. Cao's eyes shone and smirked at the closing hole. Girl, see you in the sacred domain, huh? Chapter 1105, Shuddering Heavens. Chapter 1105, Shuddering Heavens. Proofreader, Papatonks. Rumble. The sky was blue, the sun was bright, but a gloom descended with the thundering noise coming out of nowhere and shaking everything in creation. A prismatic glow flooded everywhere, wreaking havoc as it crossed the heavens. It caused the ground to sake as well. Incomprehensible as it sounded, surging like waves. As for the people riding the waves, they were barely standing, with the real experts under a heavy pressure from the light, sealing their power and reduced to weak and frail mortals. Even flying was impossible inside a grand and lavish palace among the trees on 7 Sacred Mountain in the Sacred Domain. A group of white coats with white long beards stooped in an attempt to keep themselves steady. A broad man with a Van Dyke beard stumbled in through the doors, panic on his face. Lord Saints, just what is going on? What is this? We know not, but the world is in turmoil, taking it out on everything. This isn't normal. We've been living for 1,000,000 years, but never seen anything like it. Something must have happened. Check the archives records for anything. The world is about to go through a change. Yes. The man staggered out. At once the ruby cloud sect in the sacred domain held a group of Taoist women scrambling as they strained to stand upright. One among them, aged, stuck to the wall while looking above at the prismatic phenomenon. Her heart was frantic, her face a mask of fear while her eyes filled with confusion. Just what is going on? Has sacred domain ever seen such a shocking change? Whoosh! In moments, the prismatic glow faded in the distance. The woman hesitated, then rushed unsteadily in the distance, leaving her disciples behind still trying to fight the shaking. In one corner of the sacred domain, devoid of the shock and franticness the rest of the domain felt, in a quiet and isolated manner, a creak snaked about a book pavilion where a hand held a chess piece in hand. It shook once before stilling the sacred domain, began rumbling then. With only him in this place unaffected, a sovereign path appeared. Next to him, a man in black and hidden face gasped. Has he returned so soon? We didn't even feel it. Huh. The hand finally placed the piece on the board. The path is present, but not the user. It's quite unexpected for him to separate himself from it. The sovereign path keeps him alive at all times. With it gone, it means his end is nigh. The man in black nodded as he said, "Should I investigate who he gave the path to?" In the dusky room, the man laughed in the end. "Don't bother. The sovereign path is born of the world, and only a sovereign can find it. We have no chance, so why try to? Besides, the person protected by the sovereign path has to be important. He will stand out with ease and soon will be found. Also, I'm not content with just his path, but his people." Pop! Another chess piece fell, with two glimmer, shining peculiar in the gloom. The right shone in 12 golden rings, while the right flickering purple. Your path returned, but when will your man return? Ha ha ha! The dark laughter spread through the world, making even the prismatic glow high above shudder. Rumble. The sacred domain was rumbling still, with every corner jolted around. It took 2 hours for the prismatic glow to fade and the commotion to die down, though all denizens of sacred domain were now shaken to the core and confused. Only some really old and powerful relics knew the truth, as well as the cause of it all. Heaven's Sealing CAO, who was grinning after the mortal domain, got shaken up as well. It's been too long since the 10 sovereigns formed their paths. That's the last time I've seen such a phenomenon. Uncle CAO, what was that? Why did I feel so weak? Finally able to stand still without the ground moving beneath her, Chower asked curiously. CAO sighed. The coming of a sovereign path causes stirrings throughout the world. When the 10 sovereigns formed theirs, the same happened. Once the path enters the body, they would be one and the phenomenon ceases. Enters the body, then Chower, exclaimed CAO and nodded with a smile, looking at the unconscious Fan. Once the kid wakes up, tell him his destiny with the girl has yet to run its course. Ugh. Heaven Sealing CAO frowned. What's wrong? Chower asked. CAO barked. Curses. Why are humans focusing all their power here? They're clearly after me, as I am now. Heaven Sealing CAO gave his battered body a once-over and rolled his eyes in annoyance. Humph. The enemy comes in waves, and I'm in this sorry state. I don't plan on playing anymore. I'm leaving now. Heaven Sealing CAO slapped the ice and launched a ripple rumble. Deep sounds echoed out as the ice and the sea was on the move. The black fog withdrew as well, along with his departure. Fan and Chower were on the ice too, thus following him to the North Sea as well. Hey, what's happening? What are you doing? Little Thunder Phoenix, you can't feel it, but a flood of strong cultivators are just ahead. CAO's face twitched. I'm not afraid of a bunch of bugs, not by any means. But I'm wounded and can't handle them. Don't humans like to say, know when to quit and make a tactical retreat? I don't feel like fighting them, so I'm going. Rumble. CAO's claws moved, and the ice he was on sped up. Chower went to Fan's side, and left with him. Bailey Utian's group outside got their bearings after all the shaking. They looked at the receding black fog and the endless corpses it left behind the invincible sword, and the others flinched, sighing. The sea demon is still alive after all. Juefan did not survive. With that large shaking, even outside its domain, we felt utterly weak. That sea demon must have been behind it. Bailey Yuyun's eyes flickered with fear as he sighed. To think the sea demon is so strong. Despite the deep wounds, he still had so much power in him. It turns out the sea demon had the final say. That Juefan is dead. Bailey Yutian felt regret. The rival he approved of was so short-lived it left him empty. Bali Yuyu's heart was in pain, clenching her fist from sorrow. That rascal died, just like that. Whoosh! As all were taken in by different emotions at the demise of Juefan, they heard something coming from up above. Cultivators and the millions blotted the sky as they charged in to draw blood. Some were wiping their tears and howling in sorrow of not living past a day. They all were charging to their deaths, and all knew it. What chance were there really to take down Sword Kings and the invincible sword? Thus, the millions of people were crestfallen, having handed their wills to their lord. Now charging in with the rest, Juefan's order to get 2 lands worth of soldiers here to kill Invincible Sword was now in motion. Bailey Yutian's team was clueless of this. They watched the flood of bloodthirst coming from these people, while none thought for a second it was all for them. In fact, they took them as their own reinforcements. Bailey Yun laughed. Patriarch, Prime Minister Bailey's army came through for us, and now that they're here, the northern lands are ours. This way we got something for our efforts. Bailey Yutian looked at the approaching mob, and then jerked. Hold on. Why don't they look anything like the people from the central area? Why do I feel their bloodthirst is directed at us? Shuddering, the Sword Kings paused, and then looked peculiar at the bloodshot gazes of the mob. Yeah, why would they be coming at us? Chapter 1106, Ganging Up. Chapter 1106, Ganging Up. Proofreader, Papatonks. Invincible Sword, screw you. Fight me if you have the guts. Invincible Sword, son of rat bastard. I will haunt you from beyond if I die today. Invincible Sword, it's either you or me. I'll come and take your skull as my personal chamber pot. Knowing they were doomed to die, what could running their mouths do? Kill them again. Weren't you so tough? Oh, Invincible Sword, the best in the world? None would slight you in the least, but since I'm going to die anyway, I can cuss your entire lineage. The black cloud came down like heavy rain, roaring and shouting curses without stopping. Like true heroes, the obscene and quite colorful language grated the Invincible Sword and the Sword King's ears, making these lofty figures stare dumbly. Who are these guys? They have guts to come cursing us. Even the Four Lands leaders show us respect. These bugs must have a death wish coming around and running their mouths without rhyme or reason. While not suicidal, but dead men walking all the same. No amount of threats would work on people that knew death was a certainty. Bam. Bailey Yuyun bowed to Bailey Yuqian. Patriarch, allow me to set them straight and make them rue this day. No. Bailey Yutian's gaze was cold, shaking his head. They're cursing me, which means only I have the right to take their lives. Humph, nothing but a bunch of ignorant fools to dare mock even me. I'll have them face the consequences of their actions. The sundering sword in his hand flickered with lightning, and the heavens took a purple hue as lightning flashed above. He raised a sword at the stampede and made a casual swipe, shouting, Humph, you think yourselves the likes of Sea Demon or that Joie? You just don't know your own worth. Rumble. A purple sword wave flared as it traveled straight through the army. The flooded sky of lightning struck down along the path of the wave, unleashing a veritable thunderstorm. What followed were the obvious wails and howls of demise as the army was reduced to ashes, and the wind left behind the attack was a scorched earth. Now black from the ashes, one strike was all it took to cull tens of thousands of lives. The best in the lands might look weak before heaven-sealing CAO, but he was still a god in the mortal domain. Patriarch's might is supreme, the best in the world. Haha. Bailey Yuyun cupped his hands and gave a round of praise. His flattery might have worked before, when the invincible sword truly thought himself standing at the top. Now it fell flat, if not ironic. Witnessing Zhuofan and Cao fighting, Bailey Yun-suck-up was nothing but ashamed of the invincible sword. Is that sarcasm? Huh. Bailey Yun found himself flying, slamming hard into the ground 100 meters away from the casual slab, coughing blood and gore. Getting back up on shaky legs, he bore a look of utter confusion to his lord and patriarch cough. Bailey Yutian had a coughing fit, spilling burning and frozen blood into his hand and showing it in anger. Is this the supreme might the best in the world has? Were you blind to not see the sea demon's power? How am I the best? Patriarch, the sea demon is a monster, while among humans you. Bull. The best in the world are split between humans and monsters? Then why could Zhuofan hurt the demon, while I couldn't? Invincible sword flicked his hand, boring his glare into the man. I need able bodies, not some disgusting bootlicker got that. Yes, Patriarch. They all bowed at once. Bailey Yun lowered his head, his complaints never voiced cough. Invincible sword coughed again, being severely injured in the ice mountain from Cao's ice and Zhuofan's dragon breath pill. He was at less than half power. Every attack he made would only worsen his situation. It mattered little, though, since bugs were not worthy of his full power. How much harm could flexing his power cause, anyway? He was about to find out how wrong he was. That group was a mere appetizer for what was to come. Well, he could cull a wave. How long could he keep up? Whoosh! The skies once again littered with a cacophony of vulgar calls. Invincible sword. Fight us, coward. We're waiting for you. So, come on. Invincible sword, you have some cheek to be so arrogant, calling yourself above everyone. Invincible sword, you're not invincible, just delusional. Feel like living? Then get on your knees and walk between my legs. Ha ha ha. Invincible sword's face twitched, his stooping figure shaking from rage. He turned stiffly at the sudden catcalls to find another bunch of bugs looking for a quick death. The insults became harder and harder to bear. Another bunch of maggots came to die cough. Invincible sword tightened his jaw, and the sundering sword hummed with desire to strike. He caved before he ever got to swing it, and spurted blood. The Sword Kings rushed to help. Patriarch. Bailey Yun volunteered on the spot. Patriarch, these ants don't deserve Sir's attention. Leave them to me. I will handle them. Beat it. They came for me. Not facing them will only give credence to their insults. He shoved Bailey Yun away and swung sundering sword with bloodshot eyes, sending another sword wave with resounding booms that resulted in thousands upon thousands more deaths while his body coughed blood again, damaged further from his stubborn stance. The others were watching in worry and supported him. Patriarch. Next team, attack. Outside the Sea Bright sect, Lung Wuchang noticed the purple lightning flaring in the distance and ordered the tens of thousands of men. Bear in mind that you may never return, but you have to taunt that old monster as much as you can. He is a man of excessive pride that disdains your very existence. Taunt him, and he will strike with all he has. It is a path of no return, I know, but you are fighting for the chance of the next teams to live. The more that monster wastes energy on you, the higher the next team's odds at taking him down. Within you lies the power to have your fellow brother survive this. Know your sacrifice is not in vain. The men howled in high spirits as they marched to their doom. One elder sighed from the side. Exalted double dragons have said many times the Luo clan is filled with talents. Sir Lung is wise to have the clans and sects of two lands arranged, so their friends and family lay in the back for the greatest chance at surviving. It'll be hard not to do their best, haha. Merely a trick is all. Lung Wuchang smiled. As we're using the human waves tactic against the invincible sword, cooperation and formation among strangers hold little value. This arrangement is the most effective. Sir Lung is most right. Then I shall go call for the next team. Take care, Executive Liu. Lung Wuchang gave a slight bow, then his kind smile fell the moment that back left his eyes. He smirked. Humph, they have not an ounce of remorse in using others' lives to strengthen their position. These four lands' leaders truly are. Sir Lung disdains such base people. A cheerful voice reached him. Lung Wuchang shook and turned to see a familiar figure, bowing. If it isn't Miss Schwanger. With your deep grief for loss of life, why are you on this cruel and bitter battlefield? Not all wars are cruel. Schwanger sighed. I have to thank Sir Lung for this strategy to lessen the disasters. Brother Joie ordered for 2 lands to surround the invincible sword but did not go into details. Sir Lung's effective organization has raised the tactic's chances of success. Telling every team to go slander the invincible sword will cause a man of his temperament to fly into a rage. He will tire more like this and spare us from further casualties before his death. Lung Wuchang nodded, but his smile was bitter. Clan head sent me to organize the attack with this idea in mind, but it may be against Steward Joie's intention. Why do you say that? Do you believe for certain Steward Joie had no concrete way of dealing with the invincible sword? Lung Wuchang's eyes shone with conviction. Steward Joie's plan is to see both sides crippled. Chapter 1107. Go, go, go. Chapter 1107. Go, go, go. Proofreader, Papatonks. Shuddering, Schwanger gave him an incredulous look. That can't be. Brother Joie is the Grand Marshal of our lands. Why would he? Speaking of his position, isn't it merely interim? Calling it exploit isn't much of a stretch, regardless of how bad it sounds. Lung Wuchang's eyes shone. When the dust settles, fingers will be pointing. The lands are now at war, and the leaders of the 4 lands have no choice but to show courtesy when inviting Steward Joie to take charge. Once fighting stops, the Grand Marshal loses its meaning. The 4 lands would remain, but what about Steward Joie? He is a far too shrewd a man to not pick up on the obvious danger coming with his new status. Furthermore, Steward Joie's plan destroys the main headache, collapsing the central area, while also making the 4 lands break under the severe casualties. When 2 fight, a third always wins. Steward Joie took the reins, but who is he working for in the end? This is the main issue. Lung Wuchang smoothed his goatee, showing a crafty smile as he sighed. I wonder, will Steward Joie take it out on me for reducing his plan of grinding the 2 sides' assets? I guess I'll just dump it all on Clan Head, who just had to be so righteous and sorry for humanity. Wouldn't you say? Ha ha ha. Watching him go, Schwanger frowned deep in thought. This means the man hasn't changed at all after all these years. It's like he hasn't once thought about humanity's well-being. Boom. The invincible sword faced the endless waves of soldiers with wave after wave, sending them all to hell. These men were suicidal lunatics, coming one after the other, again and again. Invincible swords weakened, but not enough for the attack to be blocked. The 4 sword kings looked lost. Anyone knew that making an example out of a few of them ought to scare these cowardly rabble away. But they had all gone insane, coming with the sole purpose of dying. They were lining up for execution. What is wrong with the people of northern lands? Have they lost their marbles? Their marbles were very much accounted for. It was Joie Fan's attrition tactic that convinced them all that the only way to win the war was over a mountain of corpses. They were simply climbing on the stairs to victory. Sometimes it wasn't death that scared people, but dying without meaning or purpose. The Sword Kings were just too strong, making all of their efforts feel empty when they couldn't even hurt their enemies. Here was where Joie Fan came with a solution. Through the power of 100 million people, they would wear them out. By changing perspective, the crowd's morale shifted. Their deaths now had worth, leading to the ultimate death of the invincible sword and the Sword Kings. Adding to it Lung Wuchang's tactic of splitting kin and friends, their value only soared in their hearts. The more you drain these monsters, the safer your kin will be. And who's to say they won't earn glory? With victory in their hearts and souls, they all stepped forth to their doom without any fear. Boom. With another wave down, the invincible sword paled from exhaustion, gasping hard and coughing blood twice more. His wounds only deepened. Patriarch, please rest and leave it all to me. Bali Yu chose the perfect moment to block him. Weak as he became, he no longer insisted and fell back, going to rest with the other 3 Sword Kings As for the next wave of soon-to-be dead people, Bali Yu would handle them. The soldiers still cursed and taunted, but the old man had no more energy for them. No longer stubborn and turned a deaf ear to Heilung Wuchang, saw Bailey Yutian withdrawing and a Sword King taking stage. He decided to make slight adjustment to the tactic by sending 5 teams at once instead of just one to drain them harder. And every last one of the attacks came pouring down right for the invincible sword. It was no wonder Bali Yu was frantic in keeping Patriarch safe, while also exhausting herself. The other Sword Kings had to replace her. Though weren't they wounded themselves? 10 waves were nothing, but having pushed on to 100, and the earlier damage began to show their effects, making their situation that much harder. Luckily, Bailey Yulei rushed here with the Crown Prince at the best moment to hold the fort. Which was not to say that a heavily damaged one, 2 normal, and 3 wounded Sword Kings could outlast the constant attacks from the 100 million soldiers 2 lands were throwing at them. No, they certainly had it bad while the suicidal madmen couldn't touch them. Their Yuan Qi took a heavy blow. Only 3 days into the fight, they found themselves dazed, and their Yuan Qi reserve next to bone dry. As for the enemy, they still had 2/3 of their force intact in the dark at the actual numbers. The Sword Kings were in a dangerous spot, only amplified with every passing wave. Their strength wasn't the only one leaving, with their minds taking their toll as well. Bailey Jingwei, didn't you say you're going to break it in northern lands with ease? You bastard! Weren't you going to support us? This feels like the whole of northern lands' forces are now focused on us. Where the hell are you? Bali Yu couldn't take it anymore and lashed out. The other Sword Kings were aggravated as well. With bloodshot eyes and growling, they believed in Bailey Jingwei's plan, but for some reason, everything took a turn for the worse. What kind of problems could his plan to attack all lands meet? Despite their frustration and confusion, they were very much in the dark about Bailey Jingwei having it far worse than them. Go, go, go. Charge, for crying out loud. Breach northern lands at all costs. At the northern lands border, Bailey Jingwei was frantic and anxious as he pointed at the smoking battlefield and howled like he was possessed. His white teeth crunched so hard they might break any second. Zhuo Fan, you rotten piece of... I'm not through with you. I'm going to get you for using this despicable tactic on me. Just how are Patriarch and the others holding up? It's been 6 days under harassment from 100 million people. Then there's the 3 divine swords. Patriarch has to be safe. Bailey Jingwei's eyes were red all over, howling, charge, no matter what. Get in there, you goddamned rejects. Answering him was a draconic roar. Dan Xingshun pointed at the sky and hacked down. A resounding boom followed, making the sky echo with the wails and cries of hundreds of Genesis experts as they lost their lives. The enemy lines were shaking to the core as well, under the onslaught ding. A most sublime zither added some color to the battlefield, but this turned out to be a dirge. The sound split into 7 sword energy attacks, mowing people down and unleashing a shower of limbs. Viscera and blood upon all around. The music turned soothing once more, with the man in white gently touching the strings with a peaceful smile. It's the Zither Sword King. Look out for his 7 notes, obscure sword. A venerable from northern lands recognized him and shouted. Moments before he popped like an overripe tomato, Shangwan Fian hovered high above, lowering his fingers. You think Zither Sword King is the only one to watch out for? There are 4 Sword Kings on this battlefield. Are you calling the others weaklings? Yeah, Zither Sword King always shows off, playing a zither on the field of battle. Wind Sword Immortal whined, approaching Shangwan Fian. Should we try being refined for a change? At this rate, all credit will go to that string plucker. Next thing you know, Prime Minister Bailey is shouting at us for not trying too hard. I'd rather not have him grating on my ears with his yapping. Ha ha ha. Wine Sword Immortal laughed and spurted wine, then pointed. The wine turned into a golden inferno that took sword shape and fell down like rain to kill 1,000 experts. Shangwan Fiyun's heart sank. Wine Sword Immortal. Is this the decimating sword art from southern lands? Fire really is the most effective way of killing. Let's not dwell in the past. Wine Sword Immortal shook his head with a sigh. I've had a drink over with Murong Lai back then, considering him a friend. He was also kind enough to let me observe Decimating Sword for a year, leading to today's results. But times have changed. I'm afraid, and I don't know if he'll give me more wine. Once you take Southern lands, all the wine will be yours. What taste can stolen wine have over one offered by a dear friend? Wine Sword Immortal looked worried, sadness flashing deep in his gaze, seeing how two Sword Kings were chatting merrily. Bailey Jingwei had to do something about that. His anger burned to new heights as he shrieked, Shangwan Fiyun, Wine Sword Immortal, did I call you here for a drink? Charge, god damn it. Tisich, the brat is picking our faults again. Wine Sword Immortal shrugged and sighed as he shot for the Northern Lands' front line. Shangwan Feiyun was right behind him, huffing and puffing. Bailey Jingwei shook all over. Damn these foreign Sword Kings, they can't do anything right. What do I do? It's been so many days, and Patriarch. Prime Minister, sir, report. A messenger bowed before him. Bailey Jingwei snatched the jade slip and read it with heart in his throat. What's so important in these crucial moments? He jolted, and in the next moment his eyes shone. The punk is missing and not leading the alliance? Perfect. Chapter 1108, Promoting. Chapter 1108, Promoting. Proofreader, Papatonks. Boom. Sun Sea sect leader, Bu Xingyun, appeared among some broken ruins. He watched the lightning flaring in the distance and noticed it had ebbed since yesterday, its weariness becoming more pronounced as time passed. His eyes shook, and he took a deep breath, turning from the incredible display to looking around. Crack. The splitting of a rock entered his ear, and Bu Xingyun's eye lit up. His attention snapped to the source, reaching it in moments. He sent a palm attack, blowing away the rubble and revealing the frail sect leader of Sea Bright Sect, Ling Yuntian, with his ruined clothes, messy hair, pale face, and blood on his mouth. He didn't look as dignified. Sect leader Ling. How are you? Here, take this healing pill. I'll take you somewhere safe to recover. Bu Xingyun helped him, and a blue pill entered his mouth. Bu Xingyun then placed him on his back, moving swiftly through the air. Now, they're all accounted for, huh? Whoosh. Bu Xingyun arrived minutes later, 10 miles outside Sea Bright Sect, at a tent. The patrols were all Sea Bright Sect disciples that had survived. They moved with purpose at their arrival and helped him take Ling Yuntian into the tent. There were many others inside, lying down and wounded. Exalted double dragons, and the 3 Shangwan clan venerables among them at the time the Invincible Sword's powerful sword struck. They all survived by the grace of the 3 divine swords. Although they were now hanging by a thread seeing the new addition, they all cheered sect leader Ling. Ling Yuntian was placed on a stretcher like the rest, and as he heard the frail voices, he cracked an eyelid to wheeze out, Where am I? What happened? Ha ha ha. Sect leader Ling, did the monster's blow hit you in the head? We've all been defeated and damn nearly killed. It's thanks to sect leader Bu that we're still alive, coming to our rescue before breathing our last among rubble. Exalted He Ran explained with gratitude for Bu Xingyun. Sect leader Bu is our savior. We can't thank him enough. Bu Xingyun gave a modest wave, even blaming himself. You're too kind, sirs. I am ashamed to not have been there alongside you to fight. This little help is nothing. If you had come with us, you'd have been buried under the ruins like us, then no one could have helped some old man. Sect leader Bu, you were right not to join the battle. I ask your forgiveness for the many disagreements we had before. It's fine, Exalted He Ran. We're all in this together. They were mere trifles, ha ha ha. Bu Xingyun gave a bright laugh. Ling Yuntian knew by now that all the men here got saved by Bu Xingyun. He forced himself to prop his body and thank Bu Xingyun. Whoosh. The tent opened just then, and a man in a black robe entered laughing. I'm very pleased to know that all of you are still in this world. Sect leader Ling, exalted double dragons, as well as the representatives of the Eastern lands and Southern lands. I wonder if your precarious condition had made you more tolerant for my advice? Who are you? State your name. Ling Yuntian shouted. The man in black removed his cowl, revealing a savage smile. I guess some of you here have yet to meet me. Then allow me to introduce myself. I am Central Area Sword Star Empire's Prime Minister, Bailey Jingwei. You're Bailey Jingwei? Everyone gasped and stared with big eyes. What are you doing so deep in the northern lands? How did you pass Sea Bright Sex defenses? Guards, seize him. Someone raised his hand to grab Bailey Yuqian, shouting, "Ha ha! Instead of enjoying yourself from your position, you dared venture here. Now we're not only taking your empire's cornerstone, Bailey Yuqian, but even the wisest Bailey Jingwei. The destruction of the Sword Star Empire is nigh." A group of Sea Bright sect disciple entered to cut off the intruder's escape way. Bailey Jingwei shouted before Bu Xingyan got to grab him. Bu Xingyan smirked. "Prime Minister Bailey, what trick are you playing now? Humph, you may be clever, renowned throughout the lands, but you are a frail scholar. Why so nervous then?" With a sneaky smile, Bailey Jingwei shrugged and spoke to the wounded elders. "Sect leader Ling, I have come alone and weak before you just so we can talk. You're free to take me prisoner once I'm done taking down the head. Or are you perhaps afraid of a little old scholar standing in your domain among the greatest experts in the lands? You wouldn't even give me the chance to speak?" Bu Xingyan paused and turned to Ling Yuntian for directions. Ling Yuntian coughed for a bit and gave a weak wave. Sending the disciples away, Bu Xingyan snapped his head back on Bailey Jingwei, cursing, "Your tricks won't work here, Humph." Bailey Jingwei nodded with calmness. "Prime Minister Bailey, with both sides trapped in a bitter war, what purpose does your visit hold?" Ling Yuntian demanded. The others focused on Bailey Jingwei and awaited his reply. "What's this sneaky prime minister playing at? Coming in here without so much as a sword king for escort? Does he have a death wish?" Bailey Jingwei shook his head, his voce firm. "To be honest, I've come to save everyone. Save us." They all looked stumped. Then exalted He Ran mocked him. "Prime Minister Bailey, are you all right? We hold all the cards, and morale has never been higher. A disciple came in just now, saying your patriarch is barely holding on while we still have millions of soldiers ready to fight still and finish him. And you have the nerve to come into our domain and proclaim you're here to save us? What a sick joke. They say Prime Minister Bailey is beyond wise, but to think you came to preach such idiotic nonsense. The rumors must be inflated. Ha ha." They all laughed at his expense. Bailey Jingwei shook his head, not falling for his jab, waiting for them to laugh before continuing. "You're all right, and you have victory in your grasp. I am aware and accept my loss. Everyone is very close to ruining my empire with your ingenious plan. But while that is a bitter reality, so too will your demise following our nation's defeat." Ugh! The smiles froze on their faces and looked grave. Ling Yuntian glared. "Bailey Jingwei, what's that supposed to mean? Ha ha ha! Haven't you considered what might come next after you employ such a plan?" Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone with wisdom. "I admit you win this round, but you'll be losing as well. You will crush the undefeated Sword Star Empire, but at a cost of your own demise. Be it Sea Bright Sect or Double Dragon Manor, Shangwan Clan and Murong Clan, they all will fall in time, experiencing the same defeat as my nation, erased from this world. What a load of bull. Your Sword Star Empire is the one to fall here. It has nothing to do with us. Why would we be joining you in death? Nothing? Then do you all know how gaining victory against a mighty foe ruins my nation?" "Absolutely," Ling Yuntian smirked. "As long as we take the invincible sword down, your empire loses their foundation. Then I still have at my disposal millions of soldiers and 4 sword kings. While you're drained and weary from the fight with Patriarch, I can still destroy the 4 lands. Really? Those kings you're so proud will turn on you in the end." Ling Yuntian disdained. "Without the invincible sword to coerce them, the sword kings won't ever listen to you." They all let out smug smiles. Filled with confidence, Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone with mockery as he smiled. "What makes you so sure the first thing they'll do when learning of Patriarch's passing? They'll be turning on me." "Air." The wounded elders all froze, unable to reply. Chapter 1109, No Victor. Chapter 1109, No Victor. Proofreader, Papatonks. Frowning, the bedridden old men looked at each other before staring back into Bailey Jingwei's deep eyes. What do you mean? Ah, nothing. Just giving the impression we're all part of someone's master plan. When two fight, the third wins. None of us are victors. With anger in his eyes, Bailey Jingwei sighed. The wounded looked on with nothing but doubt in their eyes. Bailey Jingwei shook his head and let out a long and heavy breath. Then he composed himself as he spoke. I bet that wise ass of yours only told you what you wanted to hear of how this will end. Then allow me to share with you the rest. First of all, this plan is devious beyond measure. It takes a lot of metal to send everything at Patriarch. I never dreamed you'd have it in you. Technically, it's not bravery, just up against the wall, ending up used. I have to give him credit. This move hit me where it hurt the most. I aimed for instant gains when attacking the four lands. I went for bolstering our Sword King's numbers, increasing the Empire's power, but they are volatile. Once Patriarch is gonna stop them, the four will lash out. They're the biggest threat to topple the Empire. Didn't Serjua say the same thing? The patients grinned to themselves. That's Serjua's plan, all right. The only reason the wisest in the world even bothered risking his life to come here for a ceasefire is because Serjua cut him deep. But that's only half of it. Bailey Jingwei could read them like a book, continuing, next comes death, though unsure if it'll be yours or mine. Did you think that with Patriarch's death, the four Sword Kings will turn on us? What a joke. They all come to my central area for fame and fortune. Do you really think they'll just give it all up? The men gasped. Why, you mean? Humph. I can't say what they'll do for certain, but if it were me seeing both sides at death's door, I'd definitely revolt. I'd gather a personal army and use retribution for Patriarch as an excuse to keep fighting, dyeing the four lands in blood. And only when the four lands have nothing left to fight with will they turn against the central area. Giving a devilish smile, Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone with guile, enticing them with his words. That's why I say the fall of my nation marks the destruction of the four lands. The five lands would then belong to the four Sword Kings. That's not a pretty picture, is it? The leaders of the four lands in question were sweating buckets. Bailey Jingwei smirked, keeping his voice even yet still piercing, toiling so hard, losing so many men to claim to kill the invincible Patriarch, yet all for another's sake. Seabright's sect will be finished, Double Dragon Manor as well, Shangguan clan. Ha ha ha. With Shangguan Feiyun's hatred for his clan, even if it still exists, what good will come of it? At the very end, the world would belong to the four. Oh, and let's not forget Serjua. It must come as a surprise to know that the central area is facing a rebellion. A hidden power is on a swift rise. I believe that once the major powers of the five lands are out of the picture, a new world order will come. Since Serjua has the greatest credit in conducting this play, it's only fair to get a slice of the pie. Wouldn't you say? Ha ha! Their wounded faces twitched, looking nervous. If all went like Bailey Jingwei said, what were they fighting and dying for? Was it all a scheme from Serjua against the central area and the four lands as well? They all grew grave and felt fear as Zhuo Fan's wide smile entered their minds. He's terrifying. They had no way of seeing through this devious plot, and they were perfectly fine doing the work for him. If it really was the case of ending their clans and sects, how would they face their ancestors and the beyond? They all hung their heads, distressed. Damn Zhuo Fan, I just knew that sneaky punk was up to no good. He almost used us. Do you all still remember how he wanted to cause chaos in the central area? It turns out it's all to vie for power. Bu Xingyun roared, cursing. Sect leader Ling, what do we do now? Ling Yuntian's brow shook with endless worry. He also happened to turn his eyes on Bailey Jingwei as he thought. Prime Minister Bailey, you're not here just to flex your smarts over us, are you? Get to the point. Just what he wanted to hear. Bailey Jingwei showed a genial smile. Sect leader Ling, I've come to settle this matter. Since both of us are doing the work for that shameless punk, I hope that Sect leader Ling and every leader shall cease and desist their assault on Patriarch. Stop. You want us to leave a monster like Invincible Sword alone? Ling Yuntian hesitated, and for good reason, his fists clenching in rejection. We finally have him on the ropes for the first time. When will we ever get such a chance again? Ha ha ha. I'd find such a chance equally hard to give up if I were in your shoes, sect leader Ling. But everyone should know that Juefan's scheme rests solely on Patriarch's fate. To unravel it, you must let go of Patriarch. Sirs are all men of your word. Are you willing to lay waste to your foundation for the sake of another? I have to say, I'm touched. The patients jolted, gnashing their teeth and nodding, having gotten his point across. Ling Yintian turned to Bailey Jingwei and spoke heavily. Fine, we agree. But after Invincible Sword leaves, rest assured that our empire is in chaos and suffered heavy losses. We have no time to waste. Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone and nodded. Once Patriarch is with us, the war will cease, with neither side a winner. I vow on my Tao heart, on behalf of the Sword Star Empire, that will not step 1 foot on the 4 lands for the next century. The elders found it much easier now to agree they would now have 100 years of peace. Ling Yintian nodded as well, then called, Guard, tell. Boom! As silver waves passed, tens of thousands of experts met their end. Bailey Yu and Bailey Yulei shook under the exertion, looking wan and frail. They slumped on the ground, with no more strength to give. We can't hold on anymore either. Gasping for breath, Bailey Yu looked at the others, equally spent, and shook her head. The others felt the bitterness of despair. These days, Patriarch and the Sword Kings took turns in fending off the enemy, but this led to aggravating wounds and spent Yuan Chi whoosh. Here came another wave, men coming to die for their cause, shouting and cursing. What's this? Why are they all on the ground? Does this mean? Their dead eyes, resigned to their fate, glimmered with hope and jubilation. Be brothers, they're spent. Attack and take their heads. They're exhausted? Does that mean we don't get to die? Not just live, but take Invincible Sword and 5 Sword Kings' lives. We'll live forever in history. Roar. The howls rang through the sky, and the suicidal team got pumped. Charging the enemy with fervent joy, a world of fame and wealth was waiting for them. Stepping on the bodies of the brothers before them, and now plucking it like nothing, grinning to their ears. The men went crazy as they lunged like ravenous wolves at the chance to go down in history. Their true and vile natures were laid bare to the world. Bailey Yutian's lips shook, looking furious as he held the divine sword in defiance. I, the great invincible sword, am not about to meet my end in a glorious battle against an expert, but at the nibbling of cockroaches. What a disgrace! The Sword Kings were just as unwilling dying for Murong Lai or Ouyang Lingtian, and even that freak, Juefan, would have been so much better. Now they were shamed having their honor smeared with these bugs. Hold! Sect leader Ling sent orders for everyone to stop attacking Invincible Sword. Any violation means death. A shout echoed into the crazed maniac's ears, making them freeze in stupefaction. Chapter 11:10 Widespread Grievance. Chapter 11:10 Widespread Grievance. Proofreader, Papatonks. What the hell? Rooted to the spot, the men had glazed looks of confusion at the unbelievable things they were hearing. They were so close to breaking this impossibly tough bone, and they just want them to stop. Even Invincible Sword's group was left speechless. What in heaven's name is going on? Were the 4 lands planning this time? Whoosh! A man in white landed, the venerable in charge of the wave, and walked towards Invincible Sword with a bow. Sir Bailey and Sword Kings, please follow me. Your people are here to take you. Our people. Flinching, the 6 looked at each other baffled. But since they were like lambs to the slaughter, what more could they do to them? They ignored the strangeness of the invitation and the possible trap, with Bailey Yuqian coughing blood a couple more times, and some Sword Kings lending their arm. They all stumbled forward. Why? Just why let them go? A howl of indignation and fury broke the sky, and a figure in gray shot for Bailey Yutian with a savage punch. My brothers died at their hands. We suffered so many losses, got them ready to reap. So why the hell won't you let us take their lives? I'll have my revenge for my brothers. Die, Invincible Sword. Bang! He hardly made any progress towards Invincible Sword as an energy wave flashed past and left him in bloody pieces. The elder in white flicked his yuan chi-charged fingers, smirking in disdain at the rest. Have I not made myself clear? The leaders of the four lands have decreed to let invincible sword leave. Any violation means execution. The men shuddered and lowered their heads in anger and hatred. They knew not what got those higher up to lose their heads and come here right when they were about to succeed, only to stop them. Had the tens of millions before died for nothing? Ignoring these bugs who were unable to control their fate, Bailey Yuqian walked away with the old man. They soon reached a thicket. Ling Yuntian's group was waiting, along with a friendly face. Bailey Jingwei. Jingwei, what's going on here? Can you explain it to me? Bailey Yuqian was gravely wounded, but still had the demeanor of a king. Bailey Jingwei cupped his hands as he bowed. Patriarch, we made peace. Oh, I see. Bailey Yuqian sighed, looking at the hovering image behind him. Is that a teleportation array? It's quite subtle and compact. I wager it can only take a couple people at once. Is it your handiwork? Yes, Patriarch, to be on the safe side. I built it after coming to Northern Lands. Good, let's go. Bailey Yuqian walked straight for the portal, uncaring about the situation. The others followed. Ling Yuntian smiled and stepped forward. Sir, both sides have suffered in this war and are heavily wounded. I hope there won't be any conflicts in the future. Bailey Yuqian never once spared him a glance. Going through the portal at his own pace, Ling Yuntian's face twitched. Put on the spot, Humph, you're not even fit to talk to Patriarch. Not when you cower away from the fight. Geezer. Bali Yu huffed and followed through. The Sword Kings echoed her disdain. Going through the portal, including Crown Prince Bailey Jingtian, Bailey Jingwei smiled, bowing with respect at Ling Yuntian. Yet his smile felt flat. Sect leader Ling, this is just how Patriarch and Sword Kings are. I offer my apology on their behalf. It's fine. I just hope Prime Minister, of course, for the next century, will be at peace. Ha ha. Farewell. Bailey Jingwei smirked as he passed through, as well as mask of kindness fell right as he vanished, revealing the naked scorn beneath him. With all gone, Ling Yuntian's group remained. He was looking tense and heavy, feeling his pain. Bu Xingyun laughed, sucking up. Invincible Sword's arrogance is common knowledge. It must be hard for sect leader Ling to suffer such humiliation, yet save the Four Lands Foundation. Search everything, Ling Yuntian roared. Why could Bailey Jingwei teleport to the heart of Northern Lands from the front lines? And what is this secret teleportation array doing here? Why could he enter our sea-bright sect like there was no one to stop him? Zhou Fan was right. Northern Lands as a traitor and of great status as well. This is the only possible answer for a central area to have such a hidden door. Bu Xingyun nodded. Yes, we must investigate. Sect leader Ling, leave this to me. I will definitely get to the bottom of this. Ling Yuntian nodded and sighed. Just who is this traitor? In Bailey Yuqian's camp, Bailey Yuqian and his group appeared through the portal, with Bailey Jingwei in the rear. Invincible Sword and the five Sword Kings felt ages since they saw the familiar faces and mood. They were finally back in their own domain, to safety. Sword Kings were anxious to go to the security of their hope, especially after suffering through millions of men coming at them relentlessly. Prime Minister Jingwei, thank you. Crown Prince Bailey Jingtian spoke earnestly. We're alive all thanks to your timely intervention. But how did Prime Minister convince them to accept a ceasefire so willingly? It's simple, because they had us by the short hairs. Bailey Jingwei shook his head and revealed a jade slip. The imperial capital reports that the Sword Star Empire now has over 1,000 cities that have fallen. Once news of Patriarch's wounds spread, the Four Sword Star Empire won't sit still. We are beset by conflict from every side and have lost the strength to fight this war. Of course, we'd be happy to go home in peace. How did it come to this? For even the Empire's core, everyone cried out. Bailey Jingwei nodded. Yes, Zhou Fan has made us suffer the worst. We'll likely need decades to settle. That guy again? How did he manage to get our empire? Bailey Jingtian and the Sword Kings gasped. Bailey Jingwei had a bitter smile. It is all my fault, Patriarch. The guy had beaten me completely in strategy. It might come as a shock to know that he was appointed as the commander of the Four Lands, the Grand Marshal. Bailey Jingwei began telling everything that had happened. The audience was just too out of it to react. They knew Zhuo Fan to be some mystery sex disciple, but to think he also held control over the boar, with the 5 lands dancing to his tune, he bested patriarch and outclassed prime minister. Just who was this godlike talent? In short, I only managed to get those geezers to relent because that punk is missing. I fear that not even my presence would have swayed them otherwise, and I'd have only suffered by going there. That guy is the greatest opponent in my entire life. Fear lingering in his eyes, Bailey Yun was grave. The others sighed, with Bailey Yun saying, "Prime Minister, you can relax now. He's no longer a threat to you." Wadash, Bailey Jingwei began. His corpse got eaten by the sea demon. Who cares how great he was in life? Ha ha ha. Bailey Yun narrated their side of the events this time. Bailey Jingwei listened with a dumb look. His eyes then landed on Bailey Jingtian's missing hand and cried, "Curses, is this guy our bane?" All of Bailey, from young to old, from refined to martial, got smacked around. But in the end, he got done over by some mystery sea demon. How are we then to exact revenge? The one opponent we acknowledge is gone like that. Who are we to fight now? Go take it out on Ling Yuntian and those fools? Are they worth the bother? Bailey Yuqian frowned hard. His features twisted in anger. His eyes, bloodshot blood, spurted high, and his eyes went black, knocked out. Yet he still had the mind to mutter, "Zhuo Fan, your life is mine." Chapter 11:11. Care. Chapter 11:11. Care. Proofreader, Papatonks. Boom. By Prime Minister's orders, retreat. Shouts louder than the howls of death spread across the battlefield, with both sides fighting a bitter war and the 4 Sword Kings unleashing their killer moves. These men roamed the battlefield and sent the latest orders of Bailey Jingwei about to unleash another strike. Shangguan Feiyun jerked to a halt. We're about to win this, and now we're pulling back. What's Bailey Jingwei thinking? We must have lost the battle. The soothing melody came to a halt. As well as Zither Sword King spoke, Shangguan Feiyun roared in defiance. Where have we lost exactly? Everything's going our way and are about to march into northern lands. How is this a loss? Bailey Jingwei also promised me help in attacking eastern lands. Now we're pulling back just when the enemy's about to fall? I can't accept it. So, this is the Central Area's war with the 4 lands. Since Prime Minister Bailey ordered to cease and desist, no one will fight on. You're welcome to face the 4 lands by yourself if you want to. Ha ha. Dan Xing returned, as well. Wine Sword Immortal smirked, quite perky as he caught up. A cease is great. I won't get to kill anymore and get on those old friends' bad side. Zither Sword King glanced over and left after putting away the Zither. Shangguan Feiyun was the only one pissed by this development, but still withdrew, though he flicked his sleeve in annoyance. Prime Minister's orders spread all over and the fighting stopped. With the Sword Star Empire pulling back, the battlefield soon became silent as the grave, having lost all the clamor of weapons and shouting. On northern land side, 200 defensive arrays got crushed and had lost more than half their men. Their last barrier was about to fail as well, and then they would have all got mowed down. Marshal Luo Yunhai was tense, soaked in sweat, and equally incredulous at a Sword King's might. They managed to last the first 6 days, all due to their defenses. But once the 4 Sword Kings stepped in, it felt like the world came crashing down on them. He gnashed his teeth and shouted, "Hold fast. One more day. Every last one of you hold. We need to buy our men time. We can't let them get past us and ruin the Grand Marshal's plan." Boom. The sudden explosion drowned his voice. All the men were shaking as they faced the relentless enemy. His words falling on deaf ears, letting out a deep breath. He shook his head. All tactics and strategies fell through at this point, only able to defend. At the end of the day, strength was what mattered the most. His pep talk wouldn't change reality, who lost or who died. Whoosh. The explosions came to a halt out of the blue, catching Luo Yinhai off guard. Tuoba Taizhan ran over with a happy look. "Marshal Luo, great news. They're falling back. The Sword Star army is retreating. We survived the onslaught. Ha ha ha." They're leaving. Luo Yinhai was dazed. Then he turned to his head steward. Steward Zhuge, what are they up to? Why fall back out of nowhere? Zhuge Changfeng was deep in thought at the sudden development. A soldier rushed over and bowed, carrying a jade slip. Clan head, Sir Lung sent word. Snatching and reading it, Luo Yinhai smashed on the ground, exploding in anger. What the hell? Those geezers. What is it, clan head? What happened? Zhuge Changfeng asked with a start. Luo Yinhai took a deep breath. His face twisted in rage as he spat. Sir Lung said those old coots ordered retreat just as Invincible Sword was about to die. What? Zhuge Changfeng pursued. What of Steward Zhua? What did he say? Luo Yinhai sighed. Brother Zhua got caught by the sea demon when he went after it and is now missing. This decision is all on those old guys. So that's why. Zhuge Changfeng nodded, turning to the silent Hell's Cape, where both armies bled and died. His eyes shone as he said, "It seems the parties reached a hidden agreement. The war is over. How can there be peace?" Luo Yinhai roared, aggrieved, his eyes bloodshot. "We lost over half our men. There's only 40 million of us left." And Sir Lung said, "Sacrificed close to 60 millions to wear down Invincible Sword. We lost 100 million people, equivalent to 3 lands. With the old coots giving up now, then how are we supposed to defend the next time they attack?" The death toll is tremendous, and we paid a heavy price as well. Who's going to take responsibility? Did they just die for nothing? Tuoba Taizan didn't take the news too well either. Only Zhuge Changfeng sighed and nodded as he explained, "Clan head, allow me to be blunt. I've been a dynasty's prime minister and know exactly what these men in power care about, having served an emperor myself. Using the chance of Steward Zhua's disappearance, their moral compass, Bailey Jingwei, strike them where it hurt them most, having leverage over them and making them cease the war regardless. As for what there's so much about, clinging to power. As for the forces of the 4 lands and the damage, they have little concern. How about the lands reared so many experts just to keep them safe? Clan head, I'll be honest with you. These 4 lands leaders may be of righteous sex and lofty as immortals, but they wallow in lust for power, incapable to rise above the mundane world. Wanting them abandon everything and give their everything for Tao is fundamentally impossible. They might be willing to sacrifice their lives, but there are some things they find far more valuable than life. More valuable than our lives. Stewards we used to say desires held you back. For so many years the 4 lands feared the frail scholar, Bailey Jingwei, for this exact reason. Bailey Jingwei is a master manipulator of others' desires. The only one who can fight him on this is Brother Zhua." Luo Yinhai nodded in understanding, then teared up. "Speaking of, I miss Brother Zhua, Steward Zhuge. He may be missing, but I want to find him with sister. And when I do find him, I'll never let him go." Zhuge Changfeng smiled. "I know clan head is aggrieved, but it's best not to see Steward Zhua like your past whiny self. Haha. Stop teasing." Luo Yinhai glared at him deep in the North Sea. In heaven ceiling, CAO's domain, Zhuafan was still out, laying on the icy sea, looking haggard, and weak Chower watched over him with worry. CAO was concerned as well, ignoring his wounds. They both failed to notice that no pain was greater than a withered heart Zhuafan had sunk into an abyss. It was all up to him to wake or not. A drop plopped in the water, sending ripples. In a black space, a man stood beside a pond with a crushed expression. There was nothing around him, just emptiness. Zhuafan's eyes were, by all account, dead. An aged hand appeared just then, landing on his shoulder. Zhuafan never so much as blinked. A faint smile came into view as a stooped man walked to his side to sit. "Ha, you're back. Didn't I tell you not to come to this dark place? You'll never get out." "Who are you?" Zhuafan stiffly turned around to see only the outline in the darkness. Then he recalled, "You're that." The old man nodded, and a row of white teeth were revealed in the darkness. "Yes, I told you last time that I'll come every time you appear here to stop you from passing on. Last time was due to nearing death, but this time is far more dangerous. Your heart. Your will is dead. Sorry, I made you see me again. Aren't you even going to ask me who I am? No point. I don't need to know anyway. Joa Fan spoke. His lonely eyes made him look like a corpse. The old man shook his head. It'll be a shame to yearn for death so soon. I help you in protecting the girl's life. If you want to see her again, live and meet her in the sacred domain. What? Joa Fan shook all over, astonished with only his teeth showing. The old man looked faded, yet a prismatic glow hovered over him. Remember how I told you to accept everything about the one you care? I am the same. I can't have you sink into oblivion, ever. But I'm afraid this will be the last time. I can no longer protect you from here on. Take more care of yourself. The old man turned into the prismatic glow and faded away. Chapter 11:12. Four Swords is One. Chapter 11:12. Four Swords is One. Proofreader, Papatonks. Senior. Joa Fan shot to his feet, awake. Shower jumped in joy. Dad, you're back. Kid, you're up at last. You only have a scratch here and there and collapsed from exhaustion. Even so, you were out for a whole week. For a moment there, I thought you lost your will, never to rise again. Aha, Ao laughed in glee. The next thing you know, you wake up like nothing. Joa Fan saw black before his eyes and touched their seal. What bothered him most was the lack of any trace of his wife's energy. He rushed. Ching Chung. What about Ching Chung, Senior CAO? You mean the girl? You saved her, so take it easy. Me? Yeah, CAO explained after seeing the confused expression he had on. To save you, she took the thunder flame into her body. Just as her soul was about to fade away, a sovereign path came out of you, shielding the last vestige of her soul from annihilation. It was the only thing that stood in the way of her rejoining the mere spiritual energy of the world around us. Joa Fan's brow shook hard, looking pale and dismayed. Sovereign path? Isn't that what legends talk of only as the ultimate skill of the sovereign stage? One form that gives eternal life. How come I have it? You don't know? Of course not. I'd have used it from the start if I did, not to waste time running all over the place. In that case, I know even less. CAO shrugged and grinned. It said only a sovereign can wield a sovereign path, as in the 10 sovereigns. Hardly a feat possible by a Tao amateur like you. Does that mean a sovereign resided within you to protect your little old life? That's quite the backing, kid. Now, who on earth are you exactly? Plagued with confusion, Joa Fan was lost. But then he snapped back as he recalled the hazy elder. Has he always been protecting me? But who was he? Why would he appear only as my life is about to be extinguished? His mind was drowned in question with no answer, questions he could only put aside for now. He instead asked CAO in worry. What about Ching Ching's soul? Where is she? I threw it in the sacred domain. Sacred domain? Yes. CAO grinned. Boy, you and the last luck is out of this world. Did you know the North Sea had a connection with the sacred domain? Joa Fan mulled over from Dragon Ancestors map. Close to the North Sea is indeed a whirlwind tunnel, but I didn't know where exactly. Then let me tell you about Heavenly Rebirth Lake. The lake in legends, saying it can have someone reborn. Joa Fan's heart jumped in shock. It's only a myth in the sacred domain, a mere hearsay, and mostly taken as a mere story. But after looking through the 9 Serenities' secret records, I knew it to be Rebirth's sovereign seat of enlightenment. It twisted time and space, and as long as just a sliver of your soul remains, rebirth is possible into an easy life. Only its hard barrier makes it impossible for all but the fated to enter. The other 9 sovereigns were no different. Such a miracle of creation was actually here in all places. Go figure. CAO nodded. Every sovereign has their own unique ability, seat of enlightenment. None may enter but themselves. Maybe because of your thunder flame in relation with the divine eye of the void, you tore a gap in the barrier. Don't you find it connected how it was the heavenly rebirth lake here of all places? It offered the last the chance to be reborn. The other option would be ending up as a cripple, if not outright dying from having but a sliver of soul remaining. Zhua Fan pondered and finally nodded with a smile. That's why that senior told me to live to see her in the sacred domain. Qingsheng is already there. Then I will survive until we see each other once more. But who was he? How did a sovereign end up within me? Why would he give everything to help me? Why would he choose nothingness just to help me save Qingsheng? Regardless of it all, this is one immense favor I have to return. The only question is if I'll ever get the chance. Zhua Fan finally showed a wide and bright smile. His heart at peace, she is yet to pass on, waiting for me out there for the moment we're together again. Taking a deep breath, Zhua Fan's deathly outlook now turned vibrant with hope and vitality. He aimed for sacred domain to fight, but now he had another reason: love home. Zhua Fan's mindset shifted just as faint sounds reached their ears. Zhua Fan started, as he sensed the source to be the vaulting demonic sword. On its blade there was also the blazing black thunder flame. You must hurt, right? While you, kid, were taking a week-long nap, the sword was being burnt all this time. CAO smirked, looking at the shaking blade, teasing, "Kid, I don't know how you got such an idiotic sword spirit." The 6th grade sacred weapon was made by Sword Sovereign with the rarest of ores from the 5 danger zones. Not even your Thunder Flame can so much as scratch its blade. Yet the swords taking on your Thunder Flame very soon got snuffed. Just look at the other 3 swords becoming dead in just an hour. Only this sword spirit fueled the fire with its spiritual energy and let the Thunder Flame burn it for 7 days. Talk about the pinnacle of stupidity, enduring so much pain and anguish. The sword gave an indignant shake while also showing its impatience as the flames crackled with much force. Zhua Fan was connected to the sword spirit and sensed it, smirking. "I get it. You sure are ambitious. Let's give it a try." "What are you talking about?" CAO looked out of it as he stared at Zhua Fan. He took the ring from Qiao, and his hands shone with glittering sacred stones, taking flight and burrowing into the ice and snow. CAO watched from the side. In 6 hours, the array was done, and CAO gnashed his fangs. "Refining array? What for? Can't you tell, senior? What else but refining?" Zhua Fan chuckled, signaling, and the demonic sword skipped into the array, with the other 3 divine swords flying inside. Zhua Fan was then focused, making signs as he shouted, "Heaven, earth, mystical and nature, earth, water, wind, and fire. With the thunder flame as medium, 4 swords unite, with my sword spirit controlling the shift." Boom! Zhua Fan then ended with pointing at the array, unleashing a reverberating explosion that shook the whole of the domain. The thunder flame on the demonic sword slipped into the array, surging with strength from the power of the array. It grew so high, one might think it would puncture heaven itself. The 4 sacred swords enveloped in the black blaze began to melt. "Boy, do you have it in you to refine sacred weapons?" CAO looked stunned. "We're talking about the 6th grade sacred weapons that the Sword Sovereign made, and you think you can refine them?" Zhua Fan shook his head. "My skills are mere parlor tricks compared to Sword Sovereign, but I'm not trying to refine his sacred weapons. Now am I? I only want to combine them, to fulfill my sword spirit's wish." "That's impossible." The Sword Sovereign needed the 5 sacred beast powers to refine them. I even help him get them. That is the reason these 5 sacred weapons are our bane. He also had the same idea of combining the 5 powers while refining them to make a sovereign weapon. But with the powers in conflict, everything came to waste. You expect to succeed where he failed? He failed because he lacked something I happen to have. Zhua Fan was gravely releasing black energy in waves at the array as he pushed out his palms. Demon transformation art. Whoosh! An inky black like the darkest night descended, swallowing the 4 divine swords. Now warped under the constant torment of the thunder flame, the demonic sword exploded in a scarlet and bloody light, using it to envelop the 3 swords. As the thunder flame and the black energy ate away at the 3 blades, the amalgamation within the bloody bubble twisted and melted into one entity. In the form of a black sword, CAO stood Agape, remembering to shout after a long time, I totally forgot you combined the 5 sacred beast powers. How hard could melting sacred weapons be? Sacred weapons are tough, with no mortal flame able to scratch them, while the thunder flame is the supreme power of the world. Using it to melt the bodies and the demonic method to merge the sword styles, the thing's sword sovereign fail becomes achievable in your hands. Kid, you sure something? A humming was heard, and a black blade with blue, red, green, and golden stripes flew out of the inferno. Joie Fan gripped it in his hands. It's not me, but the 9 serenities sovereign and the sword sovereign. I am merely standing on the shoulders of giants. Joie Fan beamed. Senior CAO, I shall never forget what you did for me today. Farewell. I need to get back to Sacred Domain. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.